Alright, let's try this again. I'll just wait for people to come in. So... let's see. Okay, cool. We will delete this old one. And... delete forever and ever and ever. How is it now? Is it doing okay? Okay, it looks okay on my end, and hopefully it stays that way. Better, but hold on. Okay, cool. Yeah. Oh, I see buffering. I adjusted the bitrate, so maybe. I don't know. If it doesn't work here, we can try Kick, and if it doesn't work on Kick, then MSOL. Oh, thank you, Dimus Variable. Shank you. Welcome to Gigachat. Sorry, I have tech issues. But yeah, I'm here. There we go. And I'll put you guys here. There you go. And let me grab this Dropbox file for you guys. So you can read along. You, the people. Yeah, it seems to be a lot better. That's fine. I'll take that. If it stays this way. Me knocking on wood. Yeah, I think me having... so I don't have my VPN on. I just had it in the background and I think it messes with it. But that's okay. That is A-okay. It's not a big deal. It's not illegal to have your VPN on in the background. Yet. But it does mess with streaming, unfortunately. Okay. I was supposed to get my new mixer today, but apparently you have to sign for it. Makes sense because it's, well, a good amount of smackage. Okay, let me just make sure that everything's working. Okay, awesome. But yeah, welcome back, Mike. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for coming back. I'm gonna switch over. Is it good now? It holds? Okay, great. All right, so now I know that pretty much any VPN will probably mess that up. It's fine, though. It's perfectly fine. Seems so. Okay. Excellent, excellent. I think we can move on from here. Oh, yeah, the Dropbox file link. Here's your reading. No lag. So far, so good. Excellent, excellent. Sorry about that. Pin this. Okay, cool. I just recently got a new VPN, so I'm trying to see how different it is from my old one and if I need to close it down. Before each stream, I guess I do, which is fine. Alright, awesome. So, Gigachat, how has your week been? It's been pretty good on my end. Not too bad. Went to work, made money. You know, the usual. Lived my life, did my thing. Well, actually, right now is me living, really, because I don't really do much outside of stream or content creation in general. What was I working on this week? Oh, I was working on getting stuff from people for projects later down the line, mostly. I got some instrumentals done. I'll work on those. Waiting on the mixer again. Hopefully I can grab it tomorrow. Or maybe they'll just give it up and they'll slam jam it down at in front of my door. They'll just do a slam jam. The greatest of all jams. I had popcorn earlier. And I feel like one of my bottom molars on the outside, it's like hot. Alright. So, I got some cool stuff for you. This is the 1964 volume 36 of Amazing Stories of Fact and Science Fiction. So pretty much the original Pulp. Well, not the original, but one of the, I would say like the biggest Pulp zine around. And you would go buy these. They're monthly zines. Super cool. They would have stuff reprinted from even older times. What's another one that was like this? I think Detective Stories was technically the first zine. But Amazing was the first. Sci-Fi. They made their claim to fame by having the War of the Worlds. And I think their first issue was actually a War of the Worlds issue. So yeah, that's a bit of history. Reference? Reference? It's reference. But yeah, we're gonna do a read-along today. And there is a Edgar Rice Burroughs. He wrote Tarzan and the John Carter series. So there's an excerpt from his John Carter series actually in here. But I'll leave that for last because, well, number one, it's long. Number two, I don't know. You could read the novel if you wanted to. You can read the John Carter series. These short stories are a bit more interesting, a bit more chewy. And I'm going to have the pages up on the screen. If you want to follow along, you can by using the PDF file that I've provided. So yeah, you can do that. I'm trying to think. Is there any questions you guys have? We have a list to choose from here, actually. There you go. All right. So, yep, issue 38, not 36, my bad. What would you guys like to see? Would you prefer... I was thinking Speed Up since it's the cover. Speed Up is the cover. And it's a pretty good story. So, can do that one. I did not get to test out how long these would be to read. So we're just going to take our time with it today and see how it goes. Bum, 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 bum. It's summer. You know what? I was going to do the the watch along this month, but I think I'm going to do it in July or something. I don't know. Probably do it in July. I think I'm going to start streaming a bit more again. Maybe 2 days a week. Maybe, I'm not sure. I'm only off, like, the problem with streaming is I'm only, like, 1 week. I'm pretty much only off 1 day of that week after my stint. So, I don't know. I'll have to get a streaming schedule again. But that's for next time. I want to enjoy the here time now with you. Bum, bum, bum. I can start with Speed Up if you guys would like. And I have pinned the link. I know the pain. Yeah, so I have 1 week that's really busy when I work. And then the other week, like this week is kind of my free week. But I've been really stressed, so I haven't really felt like a stream. Well, not even streaming, just like, I don't know, doing stuff outside of solo content creation where I just pre-record things. But no lag so far. Excellent. Do you like this music? Is this music, does it please you? This music seems pretty okay. It's not too loud, is it? It should be balanced pretty alright. Because I'm going to be physically reading from the book. So if you guys are ready, I can start. We're only 30 minutes in. To be fair, I was about 10 minutes late. I washed my hair and everything in the shower. It was awesome. I got clean. I got clean to be here today. My hair was getting really icky. I had to wash it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm getting used to the job. Job is fine. Oh no, it's acting up again. Okay. Not super bad. Yeah. I was worried about it really acting up. Don't do that. Don't mess up. Okay. So, I can get the... Oops. Speed up. I can get speed up right now. Open. I wonder how this can display. Let's do a window capture. Stories. Yeah. If I crop it, it'll be okay. I wonder if the cropping will be consistent, though. Let's see. It should be about normal. Yeah, there should be an average in here. And I'll have you guys read along with me. And then, like I said, if you want the text versions, they'll be there too. So, let's arrange this. We will... Actually, no. We'll do this. Stories. Let's do... And then we'll do this. Yeah. Yeah. I think that'll be good. I don't know what I'm touching. There you go. There you go. Yeah! Look at this. We got this. No problem. Okay, and if I put you guys down here, I think it'll look a lot better. Do you guys enjoy this setup? Please rate my setup. Oh my god, look at me! Woo! I'm getting it! Stopped working an hour ago, so my brain feels like mush. You can start anytime. Yow! Let's do it. You know what? I should have more chill music for this next one. Let me open up some more chill sci-fi music. You know what? You know what I should use? Let's use... Let's see. What is this? Oh yeah, baby. Let's go. Is this good for you guys? Do you like this setup? Is this a good setup for you guys? I need something more spacey. Let's get something spacier, older. Nah, that's too... It's too much. You know what? Whatever. Let's just do this. Oh, wait. What's this? What's this? There we go. This is what I'm talking about. Or maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, give me some AI gen music. Let's go. .404 language model not found. It's great. Okay. Nice, nice, nice. If only I could read. Maybe throw chat behind you. You think I should? No, I like you guys down here. Is it okay if you guys are down here? Or maybe I should make the page smaller. What if I do this and then I put you guys? All right, get over here. I'm gonna grab you. Okay, if we do that and then this can be a bit bigger. I think that's good. I have the rule of thirds going more or less, so I think it'll be fine. All right, so let's start. Let's start. Wait, can you guys hear me turn the pages? You want to hear me turn the pages? Let's see if you can. I'm kind of worried about ripping the back cover. This book is older than most of you, but not as old as I. So this is Speed Up by Christopher Anvil. I cannot guarantee how much I may or may not do voice acting, so my apologies, but I will try my best. I will do my best to drone on for you, for sure. Ooh, maybe I should make it a little bit bigger. There we go. Yeah, I think that's good. Oh wait, maybe you should be closer to me. Maybe you should be on top of me. You know what? I think I will. There you go. You guys can be right here. Right next to me. Okay. So. Ooh, you can kind of hear it. Okay. So, what's the definition of an experiment? A test whose preordained results is known? No, that's not. A chance taking or just plain homicide on a planetary scale. Yoda-side. So, Dave Martinson eased shut the door of the magnetics lab and stood still listening. In the shadowy silence, with the engineers and technicians gone home, the lab was an unearthly place. Its concrete floor stretched dimly out to the distant walls, making Dave feel like a fly standing on the corner of a table. Overhead, thick loops of heavy black cable branched and rejoined like the web of a spider woven between the looming bulks of silent equipment. In the daytime, with the lab blazing with light, and with the cheerful greetings of friends, Dave hardly noticed the strangeness. It was no worse, certainly, than his own lab, where he worked as a cryogenetics engineer. My bad. But it wasn't just the silence, the darkness, or the strangeness of the lab at night that bothered him. What really bothered Dave was that, despite the air of emptiness and silence, he knew he was not alone. Somewhere, in the dimness, there was someone else. And remembering his conversation several days ago with Sam Bardeen, Dave knew the reason: sabotage. What Bardeen said had made that clear. Bardeen, president of the Research Corporation, was a mysterious figure, unknown 10 years ago, and his advisor, Richard Barrow, had risen till they headed one of the biggest and most successful private research outfits in the country. This is in the US, by the way. Bardeen made it a point to meet everyone who worked for him, and several days ago he'd sent for Dave. He shook hands with a firm grip. Then, wait, where did I go? I looked off screen. He shook hands with a firm grip, then motioned David to a chair. They talked about the research center, and Bardeen asked, "How much do you know about Project S?" Project S involved the most secret work in the research center, and Dave wasn't supposed to know a thing about it. He said, "I know it's a secret. I know a great amount of material has been brought there, but I have no idea what it is. Naturally, I've wondered about Project S. I suppose we all have. I've heard it said, on good authority, that it's a new process for the purification of seawater." Huge thing in the mid-century, by the way. And I'm really sure of it. All I'm really sure of it is that it's not for the purification of seawater. Wow. That's definitely something you want to say at a government compound. Okay, sure. Just be ballsy. It's fine. The feds won't kill you. It's okay. Old-timey sci-fi thriller music with theremin. Maybe I should. Maybe. Are you guys okay with being in front of me? You can be in front of me. It's fine. I'm large enough to where it doesn't faze me. I know that I'm the biggest thing on the screen. Well, outside of this page, I suppose. This page has width on me, which is also a shame. But what can you do? Sometimes you're not the widest thing in the room. But I guess I could change that by making myself wider. Hello, I forgot there was a stream again. Please forgive. I forgive you, Mr. Woo-Woo Man. Oh, but welcome. Thank you so much for coming in. We had tech issues at the beginning, like we have been lately. It kind of bummed me out. But I gotta fix. And I'm learning. So yeah, welcome. We're reading. We're actually at the very start of Speed Up. I have a link, if you want to follow along, pinned in the description and also in Discord. It's a Dropbox file link. But if not, you could just listen to me drone on. What's this? The mods will hear about this. Surely they will. I'll send the carrier pigeon. The mods. Oh man, this guy made it all the way from the 15th century. Wild. But yeah, welcome, bud. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, so this guy just told this other guy at a federal compound, like, yeah, I know you're lying to me. Why would you say that? To begin with, the security precautions are too tight. We already have a lightened, well-guarded fence completely around the whole research center, which itself is far out of town, isolated, and set well back from the road. But in addition, there's the so-called inner security compound with its own gate, guardhouse, and lighted fence around the Project S building, the cryogenics and magnetics lab. The people in those labs can't go into the Project S building, but Project S people can go into the labs. Everyone who works on Project S lives here with his family, goes to the doctor, kept here especially for him, goes to the dentist here, and goes to the movies here. He does not work in the inner compound, yet it's necessary to go through 4 gates and pass 3 guard posts merely to get into the outer compound. This is a Fed compound research. Kind of like a military base. Bardeen laughed, but said nothing. Dave said, with due respect to the people who say they're purifying seawater in there, I just don't believe it. This guy is so ballsy. Well, said Bardeen, you have to remember, there's a severe water shortage developing in this country, the US supposedly. Whoever can develop a fast, cheap process for purifying seawater can expect to make a sizable profit. Naturally, we'd want to keep our process secret. If there were a need for that much secrecy, the words seawater would never be mentioned around here. As it is, it's the quasi-official explanation, but I've hardly begun to mention what's wrong with it. For instance, the fact that the cryogenics and magnetic labs obviously tie in with Project S, since they are in the inner security compound. And in the cryogenics lab, we've been doing a great deal of work close to absolute zero. Now, on the everyday Fahrenheit temperature scale, that's around 490 degrees below the freezing point of water. At these temperatures, seawater would long since have been frozen into one solid chunk. New process, said Bardeen. Dave nodded. Granted, but there are other things wrong with the seawater idea. For instance, the superconductivity work that's been done, what does that fit in? Like, where does that fit in? And the magnetics lab work to produce powerful magnetic fields of large cross sections. And the fact that the cryogenics lab is churning out volumes of low temperature liquids and slushes, which are piped next door to the magnetic labs and run through huge units called blocks, which obviously are part of Project S. How do you know? The magnetics lab uses cryogenics products and equipment. And naturally, they need our help from time to time. It's impossible to work on that equipment without noticing things. For instance, that the blocks in the magnetics labs are shaped as parts of some larger structure, but there's no provision to join them or even get them out of the lab. So it follows that they're full-scale models with a unified finished device, which would be very large somewhere else. The Project S building is huge, and it's right next door. The connection is obvious. Bardeen looked at Dave wonderingly. I have no idea our cover was as thin as that. Yeah, you dumb fads, you wouldn't! It might not be to an outsider. Bardeen thoughtfully massaged his chin. What is Project S? In my opinion, it's a thermonuclear reactor. Bardeen glanced at the window. His hands lay calmly on the desk, but for an instant he was biting his lip. Then he shrugged and turned to face Dave frankly. You're close enough. I can't tell you just how close, but it's enough to explain the security precautions we're taking. I'm concerned about the security aspect myself and my partner, Mr. Barrow. Oh, wait, did I turn the page already? Oh my gosh, I sure did. Sorry, I'll turn the page on here. I'm so used to reading by myself. Okay, where did we get about espionage? I'm concerned about the security aspect, and my partner, Mr. Barrow, thinks there may be trouble with saboteurs or industrial spies. Yay, spies. Bardeen looked at Dave as if making some point, then smiled and said, Now, I wonder if you tell me about your work. I understand you developed a highly effective new cryostat. How do you lick the problem of conduction losses? And the rest of the conversation had been technical, but the idea had been firmly planted in Dave's mind that what was going on in the Project S building was something that might readily attract industrial spies eager to seek out the secrets of a competitor, and it might even attract saboteurs. It was this thought that had made Dave glance more sharply at the dimly seen movement near the magnetics lab tonight, when ordinarily he was not at all security-minded. That he should see anything was sheer chance. The three buildings in the inner security compound happened to lie in a straight line from north to south. The cryogenics lab where Dave worked was farthest north. This music is so good for this. Connected by an enclosed walkway with the magnetics labs in the middle, which is connected by another enclosed walk to the overshadowing bulk of the Project S building. The labs had their own individual parking lot, separated only by a swath of green grass, and it had been from the northernmost parking lot that Dave, just driving out after working late in the cryogenics lab, had seen the intruder. Intruder? And take a step. All right. It's evening time. The sun had gone down by then, and the deep shadow of the magnetic slab was thrown across its empty parking lot. It was the time of evening when it wasn't daylight and it wasn't yet dark. Twilight, even. It was impossible to see clearly, but it was still light enough so that the headlights were not much help either. When Dave saw the blur of motion, he thought at first it was a trick of the eye, but remembering Bardine's comment, he slowed his car to a stop, then rolled down the window to watch. From the front of the magnetic slab, where the door should be, came a large dull flash of light, seen for a moment, then gone. Dave glanced around. At the end of the drive, several hundred feet in front of him, was a small guardhouse by the gate in the fence of the inner security compound. Tall light poles lit the cars that stopped near the gate and lit the fence that stretched due north along the edge of the compound. The guardhouse itself was dazzlingly bathed in light. One quick glance was enough to show Dave what must have happened. The door of the magnetic slab was highly polished. The lab, Dave's car, and the guardhouse were on about the same level, with the lab set off to one side. If the door were opened at a slight angle, its polished surface would reflect the brilliant light from the guardhouse. If the door were swinging shut, it would reflect it only briefly. The question was, had the door opened when someone came out, or had someone gone in? Dave frowned briefly, puzzled that the built-in photoelectric switch hadn't yet turned on in the lights in front of the lab. Then he snapped on his headlights, swung the car so that their lights rapidly swept the front of the lab from one end to the other. There, at least, it was dark enough so that the headlights helped, and he could see that there was nothing there but the wide cement walk in front of the lab, the flat outjutting roof, and the empty asphalt of the vacant parking lot. No one had come out, therefore someone had gone in. Dave cast a quick glance in the guardhouse down the drive, set the parking brake, got out, and locked the car door. I need to turn the page. I will turn the page here, and I will turn the page there. Feel free to chat. I'll try and look up when I can. I might not be as quick to respond, but I am reading. The prudent thing, he knew, was to go into the guardhouse and tell what he had seen, but the guards, from their position, would have seen nothing. 1 second. To explain his reasoning would take 5 minutes at least, and one of the guards might think Dade hadn't seen what he had seen. There usually were only 2 men on duty in the guardhouse, and they might have well to call up and get permission before either of them could leave. The possibilities of a delay stretched out, and Dade decided not to do what he was supposed to do, but instead to do something that ought to bring action in a hurry. Leaving the car with its light shining on the door of the lab, he turned directly into his headlight beams, ran to the door, and gripped the knob to try it. He found to his surprise that while the door was locked so that he couldn't turn the knob, it wasn't latched. The catch had not snapped into its slot. As he tugged at it, the door pulled open. I find a lot of old science fiction charming from what they thought the future was like. It's funny to see how things ended up today. Honestly, a lot of it from the 30s to the 60s is actually very accurate. And the reason why is because it was more than just Western Europe and the United States working on things, but we also had places like the Soviet Union and also some of the... Yeah, it was mostly just the Soviet Union. There were some places in Latin America that we were working with as well, but they were kind of like US planted places. So, while there was technically research being done, it was kind of being funded by America. And a lot of it was just like, hey, can you launch stuff off of your spots that are warm because you have warmer spots than we do? And they're like, yeah, I can do. So there you go. Yeah, warm water ports are actually really, really, really good for space stuff because it's better to have warmer weather that won't mess with your equipment as much. Oh, wait. Bum, bum, ba, bum, ba, 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 bum. There was a time before the automobile where people thought the next big thing was carriages pulled by robot horses. Dude, that's so sick. Okay. So, Dave looked quickly around and saw someone standing in front of the guardhouse. Looking his way, he yanked the door wide open and went inside. He was immediately rewarded by the blare of a siren. Not my kind of siren. Once, twice, 3, 4 times. It was supposed to be once, twice, thrice. And then I forget what the 4th one is called. Signaling the need for immediate help at guardhouse number 4. Guardhouse number 4 was right there at the end of the drive, and the need must seem urgent to them to use the siren. That would bring the reinforcements on the run. Dave let the heavy door swinging almost shut, cutting the siren down to a distant wail. He made sure the door didn't latch, and he looked around in the dim light at the closed doors of several offices, the 2 washrooms, and the lab itself. There was no sound of movement anywhere, and he had paused to swiftly think things over. The car lights were directly on the front door, and the 2 men at the guardhouse would be watching it closely. In perhaps 5 minutes, the guards from the security building would be there, and any intruder in the offices would be trapped. But from the lab, the 2 covered walkways led to the cryogenics and Project S buildings, and in the lab itself, a saboteur could make a nightmarish mess. Dave cautiously eased open the lab door and slid inside, and found himself listening in the shadowy distance, with the concrete floor stretching dimly out to the distant walls, and the thick loops of cable like a web joining the looming bulks of equipment. Then he heard the faint scrape from across the lab to his left. In the gloom, hoping his eyes would accommodate to the dimness, Dave moved forward. His blood pounded in his ears, and he could hear the sound of his own breathing. The guards by now should be pouring out of the security building into their jeeps. Nice. They would be here in 3 or 4 minutes. Their first move on arrival would naturally be to snap on the lights of the lab. It wasn't smart, but it was their only chance to end things fast. The trouble was, whoever was in here would be well armed. In the exchange of gunfire, a bullet might plow through a surface designed to resist changes of temperature, not impact. One of the pipes might be cut, sending out a spray that would crystallize air in an instant. Worse yet, the liquefied gas in a big damaged cryostat might vaporize, building up enough pressure to burst the cryostat and release a blast of liquid and vapor that could freeze a man solid on contact. Dave abruptly found himself up against a large, gently corrugated, curving surface. Oh, one of the pipes. He reached out cautiously across it and realized it was one of the branching coolant lines leading to the magnetic block that loomed up over his right shoulder. The gently corrugated surface was a thin sheet of aluminum over the underlying insulation. If he tried to climb over it, it might buckle with a noise that could bring a fusillade of bullets in his direction. He reached down and found the space beneath it too narrow to crawl under. He worked to his left and found another magnetic block on his way. He looked around. The lab, instead of appearing lighter, as his eyes grew accustomed to the darkness, appeared darker. Yet, as the feeble daylight coming in, the few high windows faded out. Somewhere, there was the sound of a key sliding in a lock, the faint rattle of a door, then silence. Dave made his way around the block to his left. He could picture the intruder going down the enclosed passage to the Project S building, but if Dave could reach the door before it shut, not 4 feet in front of him, there was an explosive sigh of disgust, then a soft, metallic, sliding sound. The door hadn't opened after all, but Dave was close now and moving too fast to stop. His left foot hit a heavy, solid bulk on the floor, throwing him forward off balance. From a darker shadow beside him, there was a quick in-sucking of breath. Then the back of Dave's skull seemed to explode. Ow, he got hit. He was on one knee, helpless, when a heavy thud, and an agonized curse told him the intruder had tried to finish him and he had hit too high. Across the room, there was a low voice. Abruptly, there was a blinding blaze of light. "Don't move!" Exactly what Dave had wanted to avoid had now happened, and he was nicely placed to collect the bullets. For an instant, Dave felt the edge of a shoe press against his hand as his opponent pivoted. There was the slight snap of an automatic made ready to fire. Dave grabbed the ankle before the foot, above the foot, jerked it up, wrenched the footy. There was a deafening roar. Bits of cement spattered across his face. The room echoed to a volley of shots. He tipped forward, off balance. There was a crash, another roar, the memory of a high whining noise, and hot wind across his forehead. His left hand slid in a slippery hotness, and then there was the sound of running feet. In half an hour, it was all over. Dave had shown passes and permits, identified himself to the guards, satisfied as Dave Martinson, cryogenics engineer, and then they'd call up the admission building where Sam Bardeen had left for his home. But Richard Barrows was still on hand. Barrows examined the collection of burglar's tools, the small flat camera, and the little small black tubes embedded in them. Barrow looked at David quizzically, then glanced questioningly at the doctor, who was bent over the motionless form, laying in a pool of blood. Whoopsie. The doctor shook his head. Dave and Barrow exchanged a few more words. Then Dave went to wash up. As Dave left the room, Barrows called, "Watch your driving. There are a lot of fools on the road." Now that Dave was at the wheel, Barrows' comment bothered him. It was the kind of thing anyone might say, but Barrows wasn't anyone. Barrows, like Bardeen, was unpredictable and not given to platitudes. Irritated, Dave thrust the thought out of his mind. He fingered the bump at the back of his skull. It was large and it was tender, but at least he was all right. He still had a date tonight. That thought put Barrows' warning out of his head. He slowed to show his pass at the outer gate, and a few minutes later he was on the road to town, thinking of Anita Reynolds, who was a lovely girl with a sweet personality, a beautiful figure, and only one flaw. He was thinking of her when, for no reason that he knew, he felt a sense of unease that caused him to lightly press the brake pedal. 40 feet ahead, a truck loaded with crates of chickens roared out of a side road without stopping, swung halfway across the road to straddle the white line, and then slowed down. Dave slammed on the brakes. His car slowed so fast the steering wheel dug into his ribs. The rear end of the truck enlarged. The swaying crates rose high above him, and his radiator tried to ram itself in under the rear of the truck. Dave pressed with all his strength on the brake pedal. There was a grind of gears up ahead, and Dave found himself stopped dead, the truck swaying down the road in front of him with both wheels over the white line. His memory awoke in a rush. "Watch your driving," Barrow said. "There are a lot of fools on the road." Dave swore involuntarily and stepped on the gas. Ahead of him, the truck accelerated to exactly 30 miles an hour and weaved back and forth across the road, staying far more to the right on sharp curves, the tops of hills, or when incoming cars were near, and moving back across the middle line when there was a clear straight stretch ahead. No matter what Dave tried, he couldn't pass. This will make you a schizo. Like, things like this happening will make you a schizo. Because you'll be like, this person sucks at driving, and then, like, just weird things keep happening, and you're like, this person's trying to kill me. Sorry, I'm just taking some sips. So, how are you liking the story so far? An engine is basically a robot horse, pretty much, Mike. Bad driving, the leading cause of neurological issues. Yeah. You know what? I have perfume here. I'm gonna spray it on me. So far, so good. Yeah, Speed Up is really good. You guys will love the ending. I guarantee it. How many more pages do we have? I wonder. Sorry, I'm just spraying myself with my fancy perfume sample. Oh no, I got it on my book! I got it on my book that's from the 60s. No. Nah. Well, there's worse things to get on a 1960s book than a vanilla citrus blend of smells. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. I'm glad I scanned a bunch of things rather than just the bare minimum, because I was like, how fast will I read this? Apparently fast enough. Instant 90% value loss. So over. It never began. No matter what Dave tried, he couldn't pass. Then, from behind, came a scream of brakes as some fool, doing 90 down the narrow road, abruptly closed up on Dave, who was held to 30 by the truck ahead. The lights of the car behind rapidly grew dazzling. Dave pulled as close to the truck and as far to the right as he dared. The car swung past Dave's left, and the driver was promptly rewarded with a rear view of the truck. By some miracle, truck and car remained unhurt. And Dave found himself third in line. In Dave's memory, Barrow's voice repeated, "Watch your driving. There are a lot of fools on the road." It was a slow trip back to town, but with the back of his neck still tingling, Dave made it at last. Anita Reynolds had a clear, bell-like laugh. Her shining brown eyes lit up as Dave told the story. Laugh made the other diners turn, and the sight of Anita's smile, her face glowing as if lit from within, made them smile with her. "What did you do?" she asked. "Well, what could I do?" said Dave. "I slowed down until I had 100 feet between me and them. Then I spent the rest of the trip glancing back and forth from them to the rearview mirror." Oh wait, let me get closer so you can hear the page turn. The truck slowed down to show me who was boss, and we averaged 25 miles an hour all the way in. "I love driving into town at 25 miles an hour." The water discreetly laid the check face down on the table, and Dave stood up to help Anita with her coat. He left a generous tip for the waiter, paid the cashier, and they started out. Anita glanced at Dave and smiled. "Dinner was very good, thank you." Dave grinned. "They have good food here. The place seems generally stuffy and behind the times, but the food is unbeatable." Anita laughed. "So what did you want? Dancing girls?" "Of course." She was smiling at him, and Dave, smiling back, was aware of her warmth, her quick response to him, and her beauty. If only it could always be like this. He pushed open one of the double glass doors to the corridor that led out to the street and held the door for her. She smiled her thanks, turning slightly towards him as he walked by. She had a beautiful figure, and for one instant, Dave was dizzyingly conscious of it. In that moment, he knew that everything about this girl was right. Her voice seemed to reach him only faintly, and it took a moment to understand her words. "Good heavens," she said, her voice crisp. "Look at those headlines. She's got a schizo out!" First death caused by a car collision was close to 3 miles per hour. No, not 3 Mippigas. Oh wait, Mippigas is miles to the gallon. My bad. Makes sense though. They used to have, I mean, practically they were go-karts, so, you know, it does make sense. 1 second. Sense of bliss was gone. Dave looked around wearily, wondering what it was this time. Nearly in the hall was a stand displaying candy, cigars, magazines, and newspapers. Anita was looking at a newspaper whose oversized headline screamed, "Pills kill again!" Dave looked at her wearily. Her shining auburn hair showed glints of flame in the light, and her face and figure were beautiful, but her brows were drawn, her lips compressed, and her eyes shot sparks. Look at this, she said, showing Dave the paper. Dave looked at it dully, remembering that when he'd first met Anita, he told his best friend of his good fortune. I found a wonderful girl, he said. Good for you. The only trouble is she's a follower of this Harkman Bates, I think his name is. Oh, God. She belongs to the, what do you call it? The Security League, said his friend promptly. Okay, you're not engaged to her? No, said Dave, startled. You're not married to her? Of course not. Drop her. Listen, Dave protested. You listen to me every time you think of her. Hold your breath till you're dizzy. And don't breathe until you think of something else. Go join the YMCA and work on the dumbbells and parallel bars till you're so worn out girls are meaningless. Sink yourself in abstruse mathematics till you warp yourself around into a frame of reference where sex isn't even conceivable. Go... Listen, Dave said furiously. I didn't say I was the victim of passion. All I said was that you're falling in love with this girl and she belongs to the Security League. I said she was a wonderful girl. Pretty, intelligent, good sense of humor, nice figure. She's got everything, only... Yeah, said his friend cynically. Well, that's all it takes. The uncontrollable passion will come later, whether it be love or murder. I don't know. What do you mean? She could kill you. Hi, Sir Hugs. Welcome back to Gigachat. It's so good to see you. You're up against something. You can't lick, that's all. You can't win. You're an engineer. The motto of the Security League might as well be end science before science ends us. And it's backed up by facts, figures, sentiment, and some kind of mythical claptrap a man can't come to grips with. Right in the focus of all this stands Harkman Bates. He's handsome, he's rich, he's got stage presence, he's got a voice of silver, and he's got an organization that works for him from morning till night. You might as well argue with an earth-moving machine. If you go with this girl, there'll be endless conflict because you're an engineer and you represent science to her. Your ego is going to take the bruising of a lifetime. You're going to cease to exist anytime league business comes up. When Bates comes on TV, you're going to find yourself converted into a piece of furniture. Afterward, you'll have to listen to how wonderful and how right he is. Get out now, cut your losses. It's a hopeless cause. Dave stared at him. How can you be so sure? I've been through it myself. A different girl, with the same situation. Take my word for it, you might as well just fall in love with the landmine. Landmine, woman. And now, Anita was studying the newspaper, her face angry and indignant. She glanced at him, reproachfully. Your scientist friends are responsible for this. Over 3,000 people have died or are in the hospital thanks to those pills. And yet, we can go into that drugstore over there. She pointed across the hall to the entrance of a drugstore. I'm going to turn the page on the screen. And buy a bottle right now to cure a headache. It doesn't say on the bottle that if you take too many, they'll poison your liver, but... This one. Church just finished? Because I've been waiting for this? Oh, yeah. Welcome, welcome. Oh, yeah. It is Sunday, isn't it? Oh. Happy Father's Day to those who celebrate it. I only know because Josephine has a father. The Security League sounds like a good villain organization, though. They're not villains, they're just schizos. Dave remembered the last time you tried to argue with her. Anything in excess will hurt your body. Dave remembered the last time he tried to argue with her that had been over a magazine article to the effect that exhaust was connected with lung cancer and a lung condition called emphysema. I mean, yeah, that is true. That argument had lasted 3 minutes by the clock, but it was 3 minutes packed with emotion and insult, and Dave wound up in the street, stunned. Oh, man. People are like, I want to date an alt girl, but don't want to deal with alt girl craziness. Okay. Then, in memory, Dave saw the smile on her lips and the glow in her eyes that had been there just a few minutes ago. And Dave realized that he was not going to cut his losses. Somehow, there must be a way to win. Stop arguing. He'd already tried arguing it out with her head on. That had not worked. He forced himself to look at the paper as if interested. I have to admit, you've got a point. She frowned at him. I expected a lecture on the virtues of science. Why? You're right. This seems to leave her totally confused. He started to speak. She started to speak, looked at him for a long moment, then turned away blushing. He didn't understand this, but it was better than fighting. They walked outside. She drew a deep breath. What a lovely evening. Isn't it? Said Dave. The air was cool and clear with a fresh breeze. The streets were almost empty. Sometimes there was a solid mass of cars, the combined exhaust of which, as they started up at a green light, was enough to give anyone momentary doubts about technology. She put her hand in his. I'm sorry, I snapped Dave. I know how you feel. I'm so glad you do. She smiled at him warmly. Have you ever thought of joining the league? They turned to the corner. The theater marquee spelled out in bright lights, Bob Hope. Dave said hastily, we're late. We'll have to hurry. Where the security league wasn't involved, Anita's sense of humor was cheerful and robust. And if there was one entertainer she liked above all others, this was the one. Fortunately, she forgot her question. Excellent timing. I love distractions. Always redirect. 2 hours later, their disagreement completely forgotten, they came up to the aisle of the theater hand in hand, and she smiled at him with sparkling eyes. They were buffeted by the crowd, but she didn't seem to mind. When they reached the lobby, she stopped for a box of popcorn. Around them, people were rushing outside, and Dave felt a vague anxiety, but couldn't pin it down. On the way out, they passed the door of a soda fountain known locally for its ice cream and its after-movie smacks. It says smacks! The schmackos! I'm gonna show you right here. The schmackos. I love having typos. The schmacks. Where is it? Here it is! Here it is! Wait, I'll crop more of it so it makes more sense. After movie schmacks. I love typos. I love them so much. Let me see if I can... Will it let me? No, it won't let me. Drats. But yeah. I wonder if I can zoom in. Yeah, I can zoom in. Look at this. Schmacks. Schmacks right there. Schmack, schmack, schmacks. Schmacks, smack, schmack. It brings me joy. Schizo was villain adjacent? It takes one thing to tip that proverbial scale. Maybe that's why I'm a villain, because I'm a schizo. Smacks. Sorry, I'm really excited. Why are you so excited, Sarah? Funny typo. Oh, why is a link to a live chat pinned? Whoops. Let me grab this. Yes, smacks. Here you go. Here's the Dropbox link. Alright. So after there's smacks. How else will people know where to chat? Click this link. Scan the QR code to join the chat. So is the Security League a cult? I mean, pretty much. It's like modern day Protestant Christianity, so yeah. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. I love dunking on Protestants. Okay. After movie smacks. Dave glanced at it. Something told him he should take her in there. He looked at her. Would you like? She smiled contently. The air's so fresh, and it's such a nice evening. Why don't we just take a walk? At the same time, he knew this wasn't going to work out, and he could think of no reason why it shouldn't. From somewhere came the rumble of a big truck, and on a building across the street, the lights of cars were swinging across the parking lot near the theater emptied itself. Dave looked into her clear dark eyes. He held her hand tightly. At the corner, the traffic light turned green. The big diesel truck gave a loud brum and started forward, slow with a clash of gears, accelerated hard. A host of cars rushed forward as their drivers, anxious to get home so they'd be wide awake at work the next day, jammed down the gas pedals. Okay, if nothing else, this last passage told you that this was America, because that's like peak mid-century American thinking. I gotta go home so I can get to work. Be a corpo crony. The traffic shot past down the street. The wind was right in the face of Dave and Anita. Gas fumes and diesel smoke whirled around them. Oh, Dave, cried Anita angrily. Once again, she was a member of the Security League. But yeah, man. There's so many people. I don't know why. Whenever I start a new job, people are like, you know, make sure that you stand up for yourself and you don't take on too much work. And it's like, dude, when I leave, I don't think about work really. The only time I think about work is like, wow, I have to go back to work. That's it. I don't think about anything else. I don't think about interpersonal dynamics. I don't think about anything. Sometimes I think about technical aspects of how I could have done stuff better, but it really does not haunt me that way. I don't think like, I wonder how this person's doing at work. I'm like, nope, I'm just living my best life. Lamau yeet. Also, no, I will never come in on my off days. Real, true, and healthy. Yeah. She was somber as she drove towards her apartment. He turned the car radio on, hoping to get music. Instead, he got a smooth commercial voice saying, Can I get Paul Frees to do this? I love Paul Frees' speaking voice. Let's see if I can. Oh yeah, let's try this. 1 second. Here we go. It has been... Let's try it. Sure, whatever. Let's see how this sounds. Oh, you son of a... Never mind. I hate how nerfed everything is. If we're gonna have AI, at least let me have fun with it. Boon for allergy sufferers, and it has been scientifically tested and found perfectly harmless, so you can take it without your doctor's prescription. Yes, said Anita acidly. That's what you say now. And next, said the voice, the news. Dave reached out to change stations, but she said, let's listen. The town of Little Falls, Kansas, said the announcer, was wiped out this afternoon, not by fire, not by flood, but by a man-made catastrophe. Little Falls is in farming country, and planes were spraying insecticide, unaware that the spray was remaining suspended in the air, to be blown in a thick, deadly smog straight towards town. I mean, this is true. This can actually happen. Scientists say that the combination of atmospheric pressure, humidity, and temperature gradient which caused the smog was so unusual that no change in spraying technique is needed. The smog was only a freak, they say. But tonight, Little Falls is a ghost town. Anita huddled near the door, and the announcer droned on about the detection of cheating on test bans, radioactive fallout, the kidnapping of a rocket scientist from a Middle East missile project, an investigation of an additive used on baked goods, case of the Black Plague carried halfway around the world in an airplane, and all through... Oh no, not the thing you can get rid of by washing your hands. And all through this recitation, Anita shrank further from Dave. To wind it up, the announcer reported an experiment too. Determined this coming Saturday the internal structure of the Earth by explosion of nuclear missiles fired down long shafts with powerful laser headlights intended to melt the lasers of rock in front of them when, at high speeds, they reach the end of the shafts. These missiles are designed to penetrate further and explode deeper than any other man-made device in history. Why? The object is set up seismic waves that can be analyzed by new equipment. Dave slowed to a stop in front of Anita's apartment house. The news went on. Despite the qualms of we uninformed laymen, scientists assure us there is no danger because the explosions are small, geographically speaking. And that's the news. Good night. We're gonna die. I'll see you later. Goodbye. Dave shut the radio off before it could do more damage. Anita said in a small voice, "You didn't answer my question, Dave." "When?" "Before we went into the movie." Dave remembered the question. "Have you ever thought of joining the League?" He sighed. "To be truthful, Anita, I hadn't thought of it. Tonight is the first time I've ever been able to talk to you about the League." Hartman Bates is going to speak on television in 5 minutes or so. Would you like to come up? "Sure," said David wearily. "I'll come up." My pastor is going to talk. Would you like to hear him talk? Also, check out these essential oils that we sell. They're pretty good. Bates' smooth, deep voice rolled on. His chiseled features, cleft chin, and wavy silver hair gave him the look of distinction and power. His eyes spoke an unmistakable message of sincerity. Did I turn the page? Yes. Anita, watching him, sighed. Dave, contrasting the sincerity with the man's basic message. With the man's basic message, swore under his breath. Although it was unmistakable that Bates had a point. Deformed children, Bates was saying, brought into the world because scientists did not know the true nature of a harmless drug. I mean, that was a thing at the time, especially. Gave another warning. But they still do not see the nature of the very thing they work with. His eyes blazed. Science is unpredictable. Will scientists never learn that? The result of any new and basic experiment is not knowable in advance. Yeah, that's why it's called an experiment, dingus. Small on a continental scale. That's a big scale. Sus. Exactly. As science reaches closer and closer to the heart of nature, the results of miscalculation and ignorance loom larger. Already, the womb of woman has been distorted by science, the lungs of man filled with corruption by the technology of science, the natural longings of humanity perverted by this new godless religion. Steadily, the world becomes more strange to us, more strange by science. Already, there are those who cannot make their way in such a world, and the number grows day by day. The scientists tell us we must study and learn and take up things of science. We must all become scientists and technicians, and then we shall all be happy, well adjusted. And all the time he says this, he is blinded to the flaw of his own belief. The results of an experiment cannot be foreseen. No one knows where science will lead us, or how suddenly the trail may end. Foolish men are raising the new unpredictable force to the point where we can no longer control it. Now is the time to control it. Now is the time to say, so far and no further. From somewhere, there rose an immense cheer, a thundering applause that grew and grew, and the camera shifted to show a huge audience on its feet, waving and cheering. For an instant, Dave remembered the blast of gas fumes on the street, the bitter expressions of boys on street corners, ready for trouble because they could find no work. Oh yeah, imagine that! Imagine not providing for your youth and then expecting them to not be mad. Machines had the jobs. Yes! Yes! Base! Sorry, I'm trying not to break this book that's older than most of you guys. Probably older than your parents even. He remembered the pills that were known to be harmless and that did their damage anyways. He remembered his amazement at the list of ingredients in a package of baked goods. What were these things anyway? He remembered the poisoned insecticide that had wiped out a town. Thought of the tons of poison that were dumped on plants yesterday. Or plants yearly washed into the soil. And then what? Did the plants take up the insecticide and pass it on little by little to the man who ate the plant? These and many other things flashed through his mind. My friends, said the voice of the handsome silver-haired man, now is the time to stop it all and to stop it forever. The cheers rose again, but Dave was out of the spell. The speech was over. A band was playing, and Anita, her eyes shining, turned to Dave, including him in her own world. Now you've heard him. Now will you join? Wearily, Dave shook his head. For just a minute, I almost agreed, but it's no use, Anita. She came over to sit beside him. Why not, David? Because he doesn't know what he's talking about. He might have slapped her face. Every word he said was true. I know, but he didn't say enough words. He overlooked a little point. Actually. She drew away from him. What do you mean? How do you stop science? How, Anita? And what happens if you do? Science and technology give power, and the world is split up into countries that want power. If one stops, another will go on and get the power to overcome the country that stopped. So no one can stop, but that's only part of it. Dave, she said coldly, don't you suppose he's thought of all this, the league that isn't made up of fools? Then what's his answer? I don't know. I'm sure he has one. I'm satisfied there isn't any. Then you'd better go. Dave stood up angrily. You don't want to listen, do you? She held the door open. He walked past her. Thanks. I listened to your side. He turned on his heel. Her voice was cold as ice. Thank you for a pleasant evening. As Dave sat in his chilly car and pressed the starter, he could hear again his friend's voice. You can't win. It's a hopeless cause. You might as well just fall in love with a landmine. Wearily, Dave drove back to his apartment and spent the night in a miserable search for sleep. Grok agreed. This guy needs to be careful. The pretty girl smiles, and the next thing you know, you're in bed with her. Now you're stuck in a cold because that's where your family investment is. I don't know. She seems to be right. Wait, they knew. You're right. Exactly. I'm telling you. This is correct. I mean, science fiction was pretty correct up until the 70s, and even stuff from the 70s is starting to be proven correct, but it tended to veer more into fantasy once that decade hit. As Chat GPT, and it said technology is good and can never hurt anyone. Grok agreed. Yeah. Your best friends, Chat GPT and Grok. Surely they aren't biased, Mr. Oss. But what if the cult is right? What if the schizos are correct? I'm gonna go get a pillow. Bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. I have to check something real quick. Do I still look okay? Okay, I don't look too crazy. That's fine. Let's see. Do this. I'm just checking something. Okay. It's Sunday, June 21st. 2026, so they say. Alright, so let's go. The next day at the lab, his friend took one look, nodded wisely, and said nothing. Around 10 o'clock, word came that Bardeen wanted to see him. Barrow was in the office when Dave got there and listened to Dave talk about the intruder in the magnetics lab. Bardeen nodded finally. We expected it. It's too bad, but that's life. Omniscia, Spirit Machine, and Certainty of Steel. Amen. Yeah. Is that a Warhammer thing? Sounds like a Warhammer thing. So what is she correct about? Sorry I came in late, so I'm missing the context. She's correct about technology corrupting man. Do we have any idea how he got in? Under the outer and inner fences, over the walkway between the magnetics lab and Project S, around to the front and through the door. He had the key, and someone had changed the filter on the control that snaps on the lights around the roof of the magnetics lab. He obviously had an accomplice, but we have no idea who. The intruder wasn't one of our own people? No. The police have identified him. The only interesting point so far is that he was a member of the Security League. Dave blinked. Barrow said. Sorry. They're naturally interested in anything that tends to discredit science. A disaster in any advanced research center would back up their argument that science is unpredictable. Would Bates stoop to that? And that outfit, said Bardeen. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. And the head is ignorant of both. Do you know much about the League? I know a girl, said Dave. She has every quality a woman should have. But she's also a member of the League. I can tell you. That can ruin a date. Bardeen smiled. She doesn't question you about your work. Never. It's part of science. And she doesn't like science. Bardeen? No, it's Barrow said. What do you think of Bates' argument? He's right that the ultimate results of an experiment are unpredictable. We don't really know whether, in the long run, science will turn out to have been good or bad, but that's beside the point. How so? We're committed. We're in the position of a man who's decided to jump a chasm, has gone back for a start, and now, running at full speed, is almost at the edge. There's no time to think. Maybe I won't make it. I'll stop here. He can't stop. He's got to go further yet. And hope and pray he makes it. We're in the same spot. Science and technology have depleted the natural resources of the earth, disturbed the balance of nature, enlarged the population. If we tried to stop science now, even if we could get everyone on earth to agree to it, we'd face a terrific explosion of hunger, disease, and misery, followed by a drop straight into barbarianisms. The only visible way out is to complete the jump. Bardeen nodded. That's the point. Exactly. You love the hair? So fiery, so textured. Oh, I'm so glad you like it, Sir Hugs. It's my 90s outfit. Sorry, I intook water wrong. I swallowed wrong because I'm an idiot. Yeah, it's my 90s outfit. Oh, no. Ah, no! The whole back cover is gonna tear off. Probably get some tape for it. I don't have... Do I have tape? I kind of do. Let me tape my old sci-fi book real quick. I don't want it to break all the way. I hate adding tape to books, but sometimes it can't be helped. Sorry, I'm just adding tape to a very old book. Something I hate doing, but something I have to do sometimes. It's my old zines. Okay. No. It's a lot more stable now. Okay. I just fortified this book. Okay. So what page are we on? We're on 25? Okay, good stuff. Okay. So we have to jump. And we turn to the next page. Okay, this is where we're at. Sorry, I got distracted by taping up my zine. Barrow looked at Dave almost with awe. That's remarkable comparison. Bardeen, too, for some reason, was looking at Dave with visible respect. Then he thanked Dave for coming over and expressing his appreciation for Dave's help in catching the intruder. When Dave was in the hall, Barrow came out. "Excuse me," said Barrow, frowning. "You like this girl you mentioned?" "Very much," said Dave. Barrow paused, his eyes on focus. Dave waited. This was the way things often went, and the reason why Dave had been so surprised at Barrow's commonplace remark about fools on the road. "Yes," said Barrows, "we must have an open house. Project S is almost finished. That's the only way. We'll have the people here in case..." He looked directly at Dave. He smiled. "Invite her. Show her around. Perhaps she'll see your viewpoint." "I don't know if she'll come." "Tell her if you can't convince her science is right, you'll join the League. That will bring her." He looked Dave flatly in the eyes. "If you really like her, be sure she's here the day after tomorrow, before 2 in the afternoon." Barrow went back into Bardeen's office. Dave stood, staring for a moment, then shook his head and went back to the lab. Sorry, I'm like leaning back in my chair. Dave stood, staring for a moment, went back to the lab. He mentioned to some friends. They all laughed. "That's Barrow, all right. That's our boy." Official word soon came from Bardeen's office, and they were all excited. "Who knows," said someone. "Maybe we'll find out what Project S is." The next day of the open house saw the wives, sweethearts, and families of men thronging the grounds. Barrow's family was there, as was Bardeen's. And for once it was possible to move freely. Even the inner security compound was open to the visitors. Through the Project S building remained closed. Anita had agreed to come and visited the lab, but Dave's explanation of his work was no great success. "You see," he was trying to tell her, "atoms and molecules at ordinary temperatures are in a state of rapid vibration. The properties that we take for granted as natural characteristics of matter actually are only special characteristics, dependent on the comparatively high temperature, which to us seems normal, but at such temperatures the atoms and molecules are in a rapid state of vibration. In cryogenics, we study matter at low temperatures. And then going to have lunch outdoors, said Anita. She was lovely, but her features were slightly pinched, as though she felt the intense cold of the cryogenics lab around here. Dave, realizing the hopelessness of it all, suppressed a grin. How can you judge what you don't understand? By its results, she said. Dave said, unfortunately, I just don't know yet what the final result of all of this is going to be. Then, she said, brightening, we can't very well judge it, can we? She was studying his face intently and suddenly grinned. You're teasing me, aren't you? Dave laughed. At the beginning, I was in earnest. I'm sorry. It just doesn't mean anything to me. I suppose a man would feel the same way if a woman described the fine points of sewing to him. Dave nodded. Let's go outside. It was a beautiful day with small fluffy clouds against a delicate blue sky, light at the horizon, and deep blue overhead. The sun was bright, and there was a brisk, cool breeze that fluttered the women's dresses as they stood by the tables that were laden with potato salad. Potato salad! And steaming trays of hot dogs and hamburgers. Delicious mid-century food. Dave realized that he was hungry. But as he and Anita started towards the crowd, abruptly Dave stopped. The whole scene for an instant seemed unreal to him, as if it were painted on a balloon that had been blown so tight it could almost be seen through. Anita said, what is it? He shook his head. I don't know. He felt a compulsion again. The same feeling that had led him to press the brake pedal the other night, but his feeling was far stronger and more urgent. Anita was watching him. What's wrong, Dave? I don't know, but I've got to find Bardeen. At that moment, he saw Bardeen standing with Barrow, a little apart from the crowd, which was now spreading out into smaller groups, holding paper plates and rolls and balancing their cups. Anita said, I'll get you something to eat. I'll wait over here while you talk to Mr. Bardeen. Yes, he said, thanks. Bardeen and Barrow were standing like two statues, each of them holding a hamburger and a paper cup. Barrow had his eyes shut as David approached, but now he opened them. No chance, Barrow said. The lasers will melt the rock in front of them, and when the rocket passes the initial heat and the release of the pressure will cause sudden vaporization. Bardeen said, it can't be that hot. The rockets will be traveling at such a speed as to compress the laser beam longitudinally. Remember, the rockets won't be working against gravity. Gravity will be helping them. Dave frowned. How could that be? Unless a rocket were fired down into a hole. Suddenly, he remembered the news broadcast. Geologists plan to study the structure of the Earth by analyzing the shock waves from underground explosions. Bardeen said, this phenomenon will be... Oh no! I don't know how to say this word! Is it literally evanescent? Yeah, it'll be evanescent, unstable, but it will travel right along with the rocket, which will be moving at too high a speed to be crushed from the insides by the pressure. Remember, the deep layers will liquefy, then vaporize, and the pressure of vaporization behind the rock will plunge it deeper and faster. The top of that hole will be hell on earth. There will be a column of vapor miles high, and the uprush will blast away the sides of the hole, widening it as it goes. It will melt the rocket. Yes, but too late. Will it explode? Yes, very, very deep. So far, we have a geological expedition wiped out. Yes, but a nuclear explosion at that depth is going to find matter under high pressure than in any previous experiment. When the particles from that explosion strike those close-packed atomic nuclei, Bardeen said tightly, chain reaction? Yes. Self-sustaining? I can't tell yet. A small error at the beginning would slowly cause the rocket to fall behind the wavefront and penetrate less deeply. If we could only warn how. We tried that once, remember? I know. There's no reason for them to believe us. Before he thought, Dave said, what is this? Precognition? Sam Bardeen's eyes were cool. Barrow glanced at Dave without expression, then nodded. So, that's how you could warn me last night about fools on the road. Bardeen cleared his throat. Dave said, I remember after those fools almost finished me off twice. Bardeen started to speak. Barrow said, "Hold it, Sam." He frowned at Dave. "After they almost hit you twice, then you've remembered." "That's right," said Dave, thinking it over, was wondering again where these hunches came from. What had made him put his foot on the brake pedal? Bardeen started to speak. Barrow silenced him with a raised hand. "My department, Sam." His eyes shut for a long moment, then looked at Bardeen with a faint grin. Now the twins work. Dave glanced over one of them to the other. Bardeen was laying incredulously. "No waiting to match configurations. They'll match on signal. This is our boy here. They'll match if he gives the signal." Bardeen glanced from Barrow to Dave, and abruptly the coldness was gone. "You see," he said to Dave, smiling. "Why, Dick and I have come up fast. With precognition, it's possible to avoid wasted time following the wrong path. If," said Barrow, "the experiment first has been carefully formulated." Dave still felt the overpowering sense of pressure. "What are the twins you spoke of?" Barrow said, "That's Project S." Bardeen said, "Project S is a twin set of transmission stations. What do they transmit? Matter?" "Matter? That's right. The structure of matter is sent in a code that modulates a carrier wave. The matter is picked up here, converted to energy, transmitted as a finely focused transient beam, and reverted to matter. The way a radio station sends a voice, one of the twins is a transmitter and the other a receiver? Not quite. Either one can focus on an object close enough to be encoded, send out its focus signal, and at the focus, the object sent is reconstituted. How far away? Tens of thousands of miles. Further yet, outside of Earth's gravitational field. Why twins? Are they the same? Identical. Why? We need to. What for? Because neither one can send itself. Dave looked at him blankly, then stared. "Good Lord, the two together are a space vehicle?" Bardeen nodded. Barrow shut his eyes. Dave could feel around him the tight-stretched balloon of the pleasant scene drawn tighter yet. The sunlight shimmered on it and it sparkled, but to Dave it seemed that at any minute it might snap and be gone. "Oh yes, it's Warhammer 40k Mechanism of Mars, but with Holy Trinity spin. Nice." Now we get a picture. I love pictures. I'm gonna sit up and take a drink. Yay! Okay, I've taken the drink. Barrow sighed. "That does it." Bardeen said, Self-sustaining. The picture's clear now. They'll drop that rocket with absolute precision. It's the same thing as lighting a fuse that leads straight to the dynamite shack." It's the dynamite shack. Not quite the same ring as Nut Shack. Hey, yo, Sarah and Gigachat, story time. Hey, yeah, she welcome. It's the Newt. How are you doing, Mr. Eric? Okay. Dave said, "You see this?" Barrow nodded. "I shut my eyes and it's right there. Like an attic half full of mirrors. All kinds of things are there. Some clear, some fuzzy, some already here, and some mirrored in a strange mirage. Those are in the future. How did you learn? I don't know. The knack runs in my family. My mother, uncles, and children have it. It's a maddening thing to have it. Because usually you aren't interested. But there it is. The instant you shut your eyes. Mostly it's too complex to follow the interlocking chains of cause and effect. But with a scientific experiment, it's different. So far as possible, extraneous factors are ruled out. And the chains of cause and effect are simplified. To that effect, it becomes possible to predict results accurately. And the accident I almost had? A matter of probabilities. I could see just enough to tell you'd be in danger. Bardeen said, how will this... But didn't finish the question. He looked at Dave. It's all up to you now. Come on. Bardeen started for the Project S lab. Barrow waited to speak to several of the men, then followed. The twins were two huge cylinders lying side by side, mirrored in each other's brilliant stainless steel surface, as you can see with the picture here. Good! I got barbacoa tacos? Tacos? I went to Taquitos. But yeah, sounds delicious. What did I have today? I had leftover junk. I had popcorn and I had good old Midwest leftover popcorn from a big chain store. And I had some purple yam buns. I had 2 because there were only 2 left and I just decided to finish the packet. I had my last pork bun yesterday. It was really, I love pork buns. They were really good. But I finished that off yesterday. I had popcorn. Oh yeah, and I had berries because we have a bunch of berries nonstop all the time. That's what I eat in the summer is I eat a bunch of berries. But yeah. Now I will go back to my story. Above each near the center was an apparatus like a wide polished tube. Thrust out on both sides of each huge cylinder were 2 short wide braces, each one powerfully hinged at the other end to a long slender arm. At the end of each arm was a thing like a smooth, bright dish. The 4 arms were held almost vertically, prevented by heavily coiled springs on the cylinder from touching each other. Bardeen said, that short cylinder or hoop in the center can detect and record very complex electromagnetic forces. When the twins are in action, a housing rises up behind it and a sequence of fine penetrating beams of coding radiation reaches out to pass through each part of the object being sent. This structure information will be received in the form of a faint, brief, complex echoes, reflections from the atoms struck by the coding beam. These echoes will be interpreted, stored, and used to help modulate the carrier waves sent out from the ends of the 4 transmission arms, which will be lowered and adjusted to focus on a distant place. The coding beam is a type of radiation that we discovered in studying the various forms of instability that occur in experimental fusion reactors. We call it efflux radiation. Dave, concentrating harder, the increasing sense of pressure, nodded briefly. And Bardeen said, efflux radiation is to ordinary radiation much as contracurrent matter is to terrain matter. I see. Sorry, some of these words I haven't seen before. I've seen variations of them. What does it do? When an efflux ray strikes ordinary matter, that matter is converted into ordinary radiation, traveling in precisely the opposite direction. The total effect is that the atoms of the object sent and everything in it are converted into electromagnetic radiation. Electromagnetic radiation comes from, well, you know, the sun. Which is sent out through the focus transmitter and reassembled far away. Dave nodded slowly. You said I was needed. Why? The trouble with this process is that we have a great difficulty. Oh, wait, I gotta turn the page for you guys. Page. Bringing about the form of instability that generates efflux radiation. The worst of it is that the proper form of instability must occur simultaneously in both twins if the process is to be successful. So they need to have it happen in both rockets. Berries and ice cream. I wish I had ice cream. I want ice cream! But also not good for you and I shouldn't have it. Maybe I could have it tomorrow as a treat. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Let me make sure everything's working. This seems good. This seems good. Okay, awesome. So we'll go back to the story after I take a sip of my tea. Mine tea. What do you mean? Both of these cylinders are fitted out as colonization spaceships. We have a whopping government contract for this work, which is was certain, to put this country far ahead of any other in space, because after one of these ships transmits the other, that other ship focuses on it and transmits the first, but the proper type of instability to generate efflux radiation must occur in both ships simultaneously, because if one has it, the other may be carried out of range before it can do its part. What can I do about that? I've never heard of efflux radiation before. I don't know the first thing about it. Barrow laughed. Last night you were wrestling an intruder when a volley of shots was fired at him. He was killed. You were not touched. A moment before that volley of shots, he was shooting at you himself from a distance of possibly 2 feet. Yet you weren't touched. Shortly after, you were in a deadly situation on the highway, again untouched. Yes, but what do I have to do? Did you ever hear the expression wild talents? Yes, sure, but within limits. I can foresee the future. That's precognition. But you have a deeper control of time and motion relationships. It may be as automatic and unconscious as the blink of an eye, but it's there and we need it. Oh, cool. So this guy can, like, he can slow down time or speed up. He's like the Flash. Except he doesn't know it and he doesn't have to run for it. The cylinder. The crowd was coming into Project S building. The Project S building. They looked tensed, white-faced, scared. Dave could feel the pressure, all but unbearable. What do I do? Barrow led him inside one of the huge cylinders and down a corridor that had wide strips of strong black mesh on both walls. For getting around, said Barrow, when we're in space, you take hold of the mesh. We have no arrangement for artificial gravity on these ships. He unlocked a door marked no admittance, and there before Dave was a softly polished panel with a large black circular screen marked off in radians and 2 centers of intense violet light, surrounded by an oscillating purple region, its boundaries shifting irregularly from moment to moment. Just beside the panel was a lever marked Danger, Manual Interlock. On the pale green wall nearby was an intercom unit. Barrow said, "These 2 centers of light represent the ship's fusion reactors. As long as a band of purple exists around either center..." Urple! Look for the Urple. Conditions are wrong to move the ship. When the purple disappears, and there are only the 2 centers of violet light, we have simultaneous efflux instability. Then pull back that lever. We have just a few minutes, said Barrow. When everyone's on board, I'll speak to you through that intercom. The door clicked shut. David looked at the pale green door, then turned to urgently will the writhing purple boundary out of existence. Unaffected, the 2 violet centers swam in a twisting pool of purple. Dave's heart pounded, and he felt dizzy with effort, but nothing happened. There was a click from the wall speaker. All right, Dave. Everyone's on board. We opened the dome of the building. Go ahead. Dave opened his mouth to demand more time, to insist on an explanation, and the calmness slid over him suddenly. The intensity of the pressure was suddenly gone. The writhing purple shrank into the violet centers of light. Unhesitantly, Dave pulled back the lever. There was a blurring of consciousness, suggesting the room seen in a rapidly flickering light. Then Barrow's voice was saying, "Break interlock." Dave shoved forward the lever. Once more, consciousness was continuous. He had a strange feeling as if it had all raced over the precisely spaced railroad tiles over a train, and he had finally caught it and hauled himself aboard. Not abroad. He glanced at the intercom. "Will you need me right away? Not where you are. Come up to the viewer You turn to your left as you go out and up the ladder to your right. Be right up. They've tried to turn around and promptly drifted up from the floor. It was only then that he really believed it had worked. They were out in space. So yeah, they're out in space now. Earth hung on the screen before them like a big blue-green basketball with tiny iridescent plume bursting from the equator. Anita, her pale face, was clinging to Dave as they watched the screen. The crowd around them was tense and silent, their gaze riveted. On the screen, Bardeen and Barrow were nearby. Bardeen murmured, "It started." Yes, Barrow's eyes were shut. Self-sustaining? It must be. On the screen, the blazing plume strengthened and grew brighter. Dave held his breath. The single flame erupted into a blazing circle that shot the globe. The terrible heat flashed the nearby seas into vapor. Huge cracks appeared, and the sudden violence hurled up chunks of the solid planet that were the size of mountains. Then the blinding scene was blurred by dense, expanding clouds of vapor. How long they'd watched, Dave didn't know, but he felt worn out and sick. He held Anita, who was crying miserably and quietly. Bardeen turned around warily from the screen. Any chance of the fragments fusing themselves together again? Barrow shook his head. Just another asteroid belt. Maybe that's what caused the first one. Dave forced his dull mind to assess the situation. Science had destroyed a planet, and science had enabled a few survivors to escape in ships especially equipped to colonize another planet. Bardeen, apparently thinking along the same line, said, "At least these ships are equipped to make us self-sustaining. We have advanced equipment, and the reactors put more energy at our disposal than the whole human race had 20 years ago. We can start again." Anita looked up. "And try more scientific experiments? How long before the next mistake?" "Ask Dave," Bardeen said quietly, "and he'll tell you your method is different, or our method is different. An experiment isn't an experiment when you can foresee the results and stop in time." He turned to the screen where the blaze of light glowed through boiling clouds of vapor. "That," he said, "is the last experiment." And that was Speed Up. That was Speed Up by... Who was that by again? Who was that by? That was by... Christopher Anvil. Probably another name. So yeah. What do you guys think? Did you like it? I thought it's a good story. I think it's a great story. Let me just do this for a minute. And... wham! There you go. Yeah. So that's what this cover was the Earth exploding. Because they made it explode. What did you think? I'm sorry I'm late. What did I miss? Oh, nothing. Just the planet exploding. You know, the usual. I wonder... That was seismic ending, yeah. I can't believe he went to the movie for smacks. He went to the movie to get whooped. Lamau. Oh man, so good. The best, the best. So there's actually another one. I guess I can turn my hands on. Maybe I can turn my hands on. Let's see. Let me just make sure it's not gonna wig everything out. Let me see. Let's see. See this? I'm just kind of stuck here. Interesting. Let me see if it'll pick up. It might not. Are we doing it? Are we? No, we're not doing it. It's okay. All right. Well, that was speed up. I have more for you, actually. This one's, let's see what this is. Yeah, I think this one will fit my next story really well. Yeah, what channel is this? Baseline Noir. Probably made with AI. Don't really care though. It's fine for BGM. BGM music is one of those things where it's like, whatever. Have it be AI, I don't care. If it's not though, cool. But if it is, I don't care. I'm not super picky. Okay. Makes sense. There is no gravity pull if source of mass is gone, yeah. I actually have to go to... Happiness Rock is actually kind of a short story. Oh wow, it's already... We've been here for like an hour and a half already. Interstellar flight. Oh, this just talks about interstellar flight back when they used to actually talk about scientific stuff in these magazines. Very cool. You see, a lot of people that would write also worked for the government. But obviously you couldn't talk about certain things, but you could... It was an interesting time because rules hadn't been hammered out yet. So yeah. That's one of the reasons why sci-fi is dead. Is pretty much because of the Cold War. That's why sci-fi died. Is because we weren't allowed to really share with the public what we were doing on a scientific level. Because things getting out to certain agents that weren't higher up on the ladder was considered not good, which, okay, I guess, I suppose. But yeah. Alright, so I have the happiness rock. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open it up. And then... Sweet. I'm gonna... close this cover, but I will open this up, and it's not the same one. Brum, 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 brum. Brum, 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 brum. Let's see if it'll... One second. I just have to make sure that it's doing the right window. He went to the movies for smacks. Yay, we got it. It'll change and be bigger soon. Can't let those freakers go up to space. Those freaking fricks! Which fricks are you talking about? The Americans or the Soviets? Both! They can't go up into space and get our skleebles. Happiness rock sounds like pet rock. It's something like that. When will they learn that their actions have consequences? Yeah. When will they learn? I am actually gonna go take a quick break. And I will be back. So I'll see you guys in a few minutes. I'll actually just kind of... I'll just kind of vanish for a moment. Well, I left. I left to go get a s'more. Oh, you know which ones. Those ones. Okay. I'm gonna go for a second. I'll be right back. I scared you. Rawr. This is called Vanilla Salt. That's what I sprayed on myself. It's by Ellis of Brooklyn. 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 Sorry, that's just my ESL having a good time. I am back though. You couldn't get rid of me. And here I am once again. And I need to put more goo on my face, yes. We're gonna goo me up. This stuff I'm putting on my face it smells like cleaning solution. Which honestly, because I'm a woman, I like it. Probably not good for me though. Probably actually terrible for me. Probably will give me the mega cancer. Well, I can't let other people have all the fun, can I? What is that? Oh, right. Oops. I keep on forgetting that I live in the country and that it's food growing time. I'm like, what is that sound? And it doesn't matter where I live. I could be in the city and I'm like, what's that sound? All the time. Or I could be in the suburbs and be like, what's that sound? I'm always very suspicious of the noises you see. And why shouldn't I be? Alright, we're here. We are here and we're chill. Dun, 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 dun. I like the bass on this. Your skin is gonna fall off the instant you hit 2040. No, no! No. Oh, Bella is watching the thing that's making noise. It's her job to watch it. And she knows that it is not a normal thing. It's very cute of her. I like it. She's doing her job. Anyways. Hi. I'm back. This is the happiness rock. This sounds... You know what this sounds like? This sounds like... It sounds like an early PS3 just lobby music. Like while you're waiting to connect. Or just like game menu BGM. That's what it sounds like. I like it though. It'll be fitting for the next one. So... The happiness rock. Tired of joy pills, liquor, the idiot box? Try a fleck from The Happiness Rock by Alec Texner. Illustrated by Andragna. Your granny Andragna. I love when people's names sound like slurs. Oh man, okay. It was a particularly good asteroid, a great jagged rock, roughly 4 miles square on one side and 2 miles on its thickest. Within 5 minutes of sighting, they knew that its flatter side turned away from the sun more than 70 times an Earth day. That meant they should be able to land for mineral specimens and still be off in time to avoid the heating phase for which they were not equipped. "I'll go out," said Warrant Officer Kramer, a tan-skinned young man who was peering ahead even more earnestly than usual. "I'm captain of this tin crate, so it's up to me," said Hartley. "Right?" "Right, in a wrong sort of way, sir. Just 2 men on board and you're pulling rank." This is what I imagine Navy. This is what I imagine, like, the early Navy to be like. Like, there's only 2 of us on this dinghy out here. Why are you pulling rank? Okay. I'm going to the pub to meet Dad and Bro for Father's Day. Yay! Hey, Mr. Mike. I hope you have a good time. I'll be back later. Take care, friend. For a moment, Hartley looked irritated, then his blue eyes twinkled with laughter. "Give me one reason why I shouldn't. I've never been on an asteroid, and I've been a little nervous about it. I don't want to keep barreling around space with that kind of phase factor bugging the back of my mind." The great flat side had just turned into shadow, and Hartley started to ease the ship down. He said, suddenly bitter, "With all my experience, the only thing the political brass lets me captain is a 2-man scouter. Consider my rank unpulled. It's all yours, Will." Kramer gave him an appreciative glance and put on his outside gear. "Let the Boy Scout have the dirty jobs," Hartley muttered, a nervous sneer twisting one side of his mouth. He idly adjusted for the descent onto the sheared stone surface, and once Kramer... Wait, let me... Why is the page not turning? Okay, fine. Have it your way. Yeah, ship. In the exit chamber, exchanging a parting wave with him through the quartz window. Queer duck saying a thing like that, Kramer thought as he opened the outer hatch. A little too bitter about things for his own good sometimes. But then his foot touched solid rock, and he was too busy chipping specimens to worry about poor Nick. After each tiny chisel broke, his body bounced slightly away, and gripping the lead rope, he had to retrojet himself back into the circular light patch thrown by Scout 3. The stuff was hard composition, but fortunately with many straight stress lines, so pieces slowly did come loose. One carefully placed blow, then a whirl of stars streaming across jet blackness, then a swing back into the light, and another blow, and another outward swing. Suddenly a voice crackled in his ear. "You've been out 50 minutes, Will." "It can't be. Asteroid time's tricky when you're busy. How many chips you have?" "About a dozen." "How many do you want?" "Don't be such a glory boy. Get in right now." As he pulled himself along the line and up through the hatch, he realized that not only had he been undisturbed while on the rock, but he hadn't even considered the possibility of becoming frightened. Pleased with himself, he closed the hatch door, raising the current in each magnetic lock to ceiling maximum. As soon as the last bolt was sucked into place, his suit started decompressing while chamber pressure mounted in precision compensation. For a second, he thought he saw a white speck eddy out of the specimen box attached to his belt, but another did not follow. Anyways, suit visors had a way of clouding up the inside during chamber compression, and that could play funny tricks. 5 minutes later, though, when he pulled off his helmet, a little swarm of white specks welled up towards the ceiling. Then they were gone. Funny, he laughed to himself. Funny, funny. He suddenly laughed aloud. Talcum powder from the void. There was Hartley's face at the window, peering anxiously at him, and for some inexplicable reason, the sight was even funnier. Shaking helplessly, Kramer slapped his knee, kept pointing at his face. Life is so wonderfully wonderful, he said to himself, unable to mutter anything aloud now. Wonderful, wonderfully. After a while, Hartley opened the door into the front cabin. Did I? Oh, I didn't turn my page properly. Whoops. Helped himself to the cockpit seat. Sorry, old man, Kramer grasped happily. Don't know why I did that. It was surprising how undisturbed by the private joke Hartley looked. He seemed to be too abstracted for that. Feeling all right, he finally asked. Perfect, Kramer grinned, greeting the galactic reaches with a wave of his hand. Isn't it a beautiful universe? I think I could count all the visible light sources out there in 10 minutes if I wanted to. No, I don't want to count anything but my blessings. I just want to look. Not from here, though. This rock makes it crazy wobble into sunlight soon, and I'd rather be off it when the surface starts heating up. Hartley eased the craft upwards, pulling her back a few dozen miles. Then he balanced the power exhaust into hover and took the specimen box from Kramer's belt. You've got ecstasy of the space deeps. Never can tell when that'll strike a man out there. He studied the little slate blue chips inside. You notice that white stuff, Will? First, I thought it was just visor clouding. He was thinking with extraordinary clarity, even though he still felt wildly elated. Seemed to happen after the temperature moving above water freezing. Yeah, you did everything by the book, son, except the thing that justified your excursion in the first place. When you came in, you merely forgot to seal the specimen box and set its cryogenic cell for deep freeze. Bringing the chips into human temperature range may have destroyed some of the specimen's value. Usually doesn't matter, but in this case, I wonder, gosh, that's awful. I'd be glad to go out again. Oh, man, I would hate it. Also, more drugs. Rank and file never breaks. Yeah. No, you may have stupidly done a smart thing, but you'll really boggle it this time with the ecstasy clouding your mind. I'm thinking clearly. Really, I am. Can't be. Okay, he said. Test me. Give me some digits to multiply while you punch them on the computer. All right. Hartley muttered impatiently. 38,373 times 14, 621 times 322. Satisfied. After a few seconds. 180658625826. Hartley pulled a strand of tape from the computer. Repeat it slowly. Eyes widening, he followed a response on the tape. You've got it right. Satisfied? Seriously, though, there's nothing. It's nothing when you know the tricks. Old-time, non-machine calculation was one of my hobbies when I was a kid. It isn't nothing. Space ecstasy ruins a man's ability to think straight for hours. Plenty of bodies are still drifting around space because in the early days they neglected the proper safety checks. He stared through the magnifier at the asteroid, its flat face now glittering in sunlight. Starting to feel the hangover headache? Nope, just fine, Nick. I've never felt this good in my life. We'll wait here an hour. Drugs! But after an hour was up, Kramer was still grinning. I'm ready to go out again, he stated. Hartley stared at him. Then it was the white stuff. Man, you've hit on something. There have been a few reports about this kind of untroubled ecstasy reaction, but nobody ever spotted that powder. We're going back. When the asteroid was back in position again, they dropped to the surface. Kramer started up, but Hartley held him back in his seat. This time, I do pull rank. I'm going out myself. Kramer shrugged. I'm in too good a mood to offer the slightest protest. Your mood's why I'm going. He put on his suit and went into the rear chamber. A few minutes later, he disappeared outside. Everything okay? Kramer radioed. Sure thing. I'll be right back. The stuff flakes off like mica. Easy to handle when you know the angles of the fault lines. A few minutes later, he was on board again. Sure we're fast, Kramer exclaimed. Get the comp going and don't chew so much fat. Okay. He activated the self-compensating cycle and watched his superior through the glass. There was again a few specks from the specimen box. He too had forgotten the standard operating procedure. Then later, as Hartley took off his helmet, a swarm of them ascended like angry midges into the ceiling. It was a few seconds. The captain was laughing more readily than Kramer had ever seen him laugh before. When Hartley came into the cockpit, he exclaimed, "Wonderful! There's something like mica in these rocks, and the powder's all over in the assist." He went to the corner and pulled some things out of the equipment cabinet, but his back blocked Kramer's view. Still facing away, he headed back to the exit chamber. "Go out again," he said. "But Captain, you won't know what you're doing." Hartley gave an airy wave. "You did, didn't you?" "Yes, but no buts, my young friend. I'll be on the line. Anything goes." "Wrong. You turn on the winch and I'll be wrenched right back in." I turned page. Now we have 2 high people. Excellent. This will be wonderful for not dying. I've never heard this song before. I was just guessing that there would be... I was just guessing that there would be 10 sax notes in a row. Because I'm that good. Ooh, the dog is watching. I'm gonna take a sip of tea. Hey. Dun, 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 dun. We'll be orbiting into sunlight and forget it. I'll be back on time. There are only 2 universal laws, son. Get happy and stay happy. He shut the door, put on his suit, and ordered a compression recycling. As soon as it was completed, he jetted himself through the escape hatch. Again, he was back very quickly, but this time, as soon as the helmet came off, he whipped out a specimen slide from an inner pocket, waved it gaily through the talc cloud. Again, he had left the box unadjusted and slipped the slide into a portable pocket microscope. He gripped the scope in his eye like a monocle and stood spellbound for 5 minutes until, with a shout of joy, he let the little electronic cylinder drop into his hand. "I'm going back out," he said, "but Captain Hartley, you'll get caught on the heating surface. Open the cockpit door." As soon as he came back in, he sat down at the controls and lifted the craft off. "See, Kramer, I can think straight too, under the influence. You were right this time, and I've listened." Then he switched to hover. "We're not going back again, are we?" "Of course," Hartley grinned. "After all, I made the same mistake you did twice. I've let the temperature of the specimen box dekelvinize." Despite his continuing sense of well-being, Kramer felt uneasy, but there was nothing he could put his finger on, so he didn't protest. Anyways, he could see Hartley would not be swayed now from whatever was his strange purpose. A few hours later, they settled back on the asteroid, and Captain went out once more. Kramer tried to watch what he was doing, but Hartley was too huddled over the fact that he was working for much to be seen. An hour later, he came back in and made some fixed notations in his logbook as soon as his suit decompressed. They took off immediately. "This time the box stays locked," he said, pointing at the lid dial, which showed the tiny atomic pressure unit inside was keeping the core's contents at Kelvin 90. Then he radioed the mothership for a directional beam and locked the craft on automatic pilot. He glanced thoughtfully at his assistant. "When we come in, I'll make the report. But I know that's standard, Captain. I learned it on the first month of the academy. Just wanted to make sure you remembered. How do you feel, Will?" "Perfect. No after effects." "Same with me." He thumped Kramer's back in a hail fellow well-met spirit, and Kramer thought, not such a bad guy sometimes. But, of course, that little outburst of camaraderie had to stop short. As soon as they debarked inside the mothership, the Solar Pioneer was strictly spit and polished, all 1,200 feet of it, and they came out of the scout craft hangar, where There were brisk salutes to be exchanged and data registration books to be countersigned. General Shisholism. Shisholum? I don't know this word. A natty man with brightly burnished swagger, strict to match, was personally on hand to greet them. Anything of interest to report, Captain? He snapped. Fairly routine, sir. He gave Kramer a silencing glance. That's the trouble, Captain. The whole voyage has been. You're the last craft in, so we're heading back to Earth now. Hartley held out the specimen box. We spotted a good landing asteroid. One side flat as a mesa. Composition fairly similar to granite and mica. So a mesa, for my Euro audience, is just like a canyon. Like a flat part of a mountain, like it's like the flat part of mountain surfaces, I believe, is a mesa, where it's kind of like a valley, but imagine if the valley was made out of rock. I think that's what a mesa is. Nothing else? Kramer started to open his mouth, but Hartley broke in. Nothing, sir, he answered. The white stuff, sir, said Kramer. The white stuff! You know the white stuff! Holding chin and stomach in, the general glared directly at him. You're out of order, mister. Yes, it... Then don't say another word. He pulled out a little black book, made a notation, and looked at Hartley as if no one else were there. What's this about? Nothing important, sir. We didn't have the specimen box set cryogenically a few times, and when the temperature went up to human normal in the compression cycle chamber, little water crystals flew out. Well, nothing unusual about that. But sir, Kramer protested, they couldn't have been just water. Silence! Sisholm. Oh, Sisholm is just the name. Roared in. Two of his staff members at the bend of a corridor turned to watch the fun. Consider yourself under probationary discipline, Mr. Kramer. Informalities natural and permissible on a frontline craft like a scouter, but chain of command has to be absolute on a dreadnought. You know that. I'm very sorry this happened, sir, Hartley apologized. When a land, he's under your priority control for the first 5 days of Earth leave. It's just up to you to teach him how to stay in line. He rubbed his brush mustache thoughtfully. To begin with, though, it might be good to take him along the analysis lab just to show him how wrong he probably is, even about the specimens. Any objections to that, mister? No, sir, he said, more hopefully now of exposing Hartley. Very good idea, sir. Hartley nodded unexpectedly. I turned the page. They proceeded 200 yards towards the stern, where the specimen analysis laboratory was located. In one long room, there was a row of totally automatic equipment for both deep freeze and normal temperature breakdowns. Somers, the chief chemist, set the specimen box in a large sealed chamber with one transparent side. When the inside temperature matched that within the box itself, fine robot fingers unlocked it, withdrew samples, and shifted them towards various test compartments. Meanwhile, Sisholm explained the crystal cloud to the chemist. That must have been an exceptional batch, Somers said, as he studied the response style. Very little moisture here. Nothing important to that one way or the other, though. Matter of fact, and nothing important to these specimens in general. Usual asteroid run. Hartley impassively considered the shocked expression on Kramer's face. Confined to quarters for the rest of the voyage, snapped the general, turning his back on the miscreant. As Hartley led his way to Scout headquarters, he kept shaking his head. Shouldn't make trouble like that, Kramer. See where it gets you. I can't get ahead in this man's service, so how far do you think you can go? But you didn't tell him the most important thing, and the material in the lab didn't give off any whiteness, even when its temperature was raised. I don't think you put in any new chips the third time you went out. I think you're trying to hide something. Sure, right there. He pulled a pocket inside out. A few tobacco shreds were clinging to it. The lining. Go ahead, tell them more, and you'll keep getting into deeper trouble. No one will believe you anyways. They stopped by the recreation room entrance to watch a foursome at ping pong. I know the traditional usage of some is to denote more than a few people. I understand this, but you have to understand. This is giving me good inspiration for my story. Excellent. I'm glad I can help. The foursome. Cute dog. Nice. Where's the foursome at ping pong? 1 second. It was a good game requiring special skill since the artificial gravity of the Dreadnought class craft varied slightly from that of Earth. I'm so sorry. I couldn't keep a straight face. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have such a bad brain. My face hurts. My face hurts. Okay. I need to massage my face. What's new? I don't know. My shoulder keeps popping, actually. I guess that's what's new, pussycat. Come along. No human company for humans. Your face is dissolving from the evil goo, I told you. I know. But I put it on anyways. We're on Terra for... Foursome. Special gravity. Terraform. Touchdown. Human contact. Ping pong. Oh my god. I'm crying. Stop saying funny words and secrets. Okay. Sarah, you have to stop. It's too much. It's being ridiculous. Being ridiculous. Oh my god. What's the... That's a great question. I'll show you how silly you've been and you can get on the ground floor for something really big. This is splendid. Thank you for being patient with me while I laugh my head off like an idiot. Alright, stop crying. It's not that funny. You're not supposed to laugh that much. Human company, my dear. Okay. Okay, woo. Okay, for real, for real. It was only a matter of time. Saying nothing, Kramer stepped into his little windowless cabin. He's windowless! And listened as his door was locked from the outside. He got put in gay baby jail. Stinky incel. You okay? Sure, I suppose. He broke open an emergency ration bar, munching solely until the idea came to him that the asteroid experience had to involve some new kind of drug Hartley wanted to keep to himself. He would have to convince the authorities that the matter warranted further investigation, chain of command, rules or no rules. Man, I'm gonna eat my stinky incel bar, my incel chow, and drink my gamer schmups. Alright, well, woo! Meanwhile, there was a week of isolation to be filled. I got put in gay baby jail for a week. There were 30 courses on his shelf to choose from. Himself. Various things he had planned to learn when the occasion arose. Now there'd be enough time to absorb 2 of them. He held up the audio visuals and started on the intensive 24-hour regimen that permitted even sleeping hours to be categorically fruitful. He used the audiobooks. A week later, as the Solar Pioneer entered its magnetic cradle near Paris, he found himself master of Old Sanskrit, his 8th language, and Luna, history of the first settlements. He also found himself once more face to face with the problem of heartless, devious scheming. A probationer's badge was given to him to wear before the captain took him off the ship. Hartley accompanied him in a robot cab towards the city center, 20 miles towards the sign? I don't know French. From the ancient arrondissements. God, I'm still dying on the inside. Subtext, Lamau. Everything is a joke. Whew. Wait. Oh, okay. I'm just here because, yeah. Because I couldn't stop laughing. Woo! The sands. Oh, the powder was a drug, Kramer said. As soon as they were alone in the cab, you think you can turn it to private advantage, but the idea is insane. Everyone knows the danger of drugs. Not drugs! I feel like I really have to clear my throat now. That's the beauty of it. It isn't a drug. Hartley leaned back and crossed his legs. There wasn't any after effect, was there? Doesn't mean a thing. Drugs only do their real damage after repeated doses. Joy can't be this free. You have to pay for it at horribly compound interest when it comes this easily. I'm willing to wager we're going to find this stuff perfect. No side effects at all, and... I cannot seem to clear my throat. Throwing rocks at people with more money than you? Yeah. I'm willing to wager you're going to find the stuff perfect. The cry The cry down through the ages, Captain. All drugs have been evil, but this newest one is the exception. Until it turns out to be the same narcotic chimera, pure hell. And Mr. Kramer, it isn't a drug. He threw up his hands. A chemical working like that one did isn't a drug. Did you ever hear of a narcotic drug that was alive? Alive? Did you say alive? Date alive even? That's what I said, he smirked. But then, you mean it's a germ? Ah, getting smart at last. Just like one of my favorite shows that I've never watched. Then we're infected and you want to corrupt other people the same way? Nobody can be infected. Eyes glittering, he watched the first vast metropolitan tower grow ahead of them. The germs die after a few minutes of body warmth. Die and completely disintegrate. I saw it through the eye socket microscope. Kramer felt the first cold horror brush his brow, like the substanceless touch of the wings of the angel of death. But he managed to stifle his incipient protest. It was more important than ever now that he found out what was being planned. That is peculiar. Sorry. I have a lot of, like, a lot of phlegm from laughing, and I can't seem to get it out. I don't know whether it could be called a drug or not. It isn't one. But a drug's not important one way or another. Except sometimes for legal purposes. The important point here is that something without any bad side effects because the body utterly destroys it. He pulls a cylinder from his pocket. It was the smallest deep freeze until generally available, at least 100cc in dormant pure form, inside this cryogenic package. That's what you were doing on the asteroid, gathering your own private stock? Naturally. I saw that the powder lay in the cyst and just scraped the stuff in and sealed it up. He patted the insulated ceramic. Now we're going to see a friend of mine, and if I'm right, we have $5 million in the palm of my hand. Why are you telling me this? Kramer demanded. Because it's simpler to have you on the inside than the outside. Not that you'll be able to do anything. Even if you remain so natively Boy Scoutish about it, who's going to believe your story at this stage of the game? There's an even better reason why you'd keep quiet, though I won't tell you that until later. Because they'll put you in an actual asylum that they used to have back at the time. Kramer was still considering how he might snatch the capsule away when the captain dropped it back into a self-locking pocket of his suit. The cab had stopped before the sleekest tower on Boulevard Radio. Hartley jumped out, waving for Kramer to follow. The elevator had several other people in it, all of whom eyed the probationary badge with distaste. Any attempt to subdue Hartley would receive no support from these super respectables. The two of them got off at the 87th floor and were ushered into a vast, luxurious, decorated chamber. About a dozen men and women were scattered about the room, boredly watching a colored symphony unfold on the wall. They were all dressed in the sort of highest fashion glitter, which evoked as much disgust as amusement among most space workers. But Hartley was obviously not typical of his breed. He enjoyed coming among these people, livening up as soon as he saw them. A tall blonde man came slowly towards him, wearily rejoicing. "So glad to see you, Hartley." "Ah, probationary intel. Well, any probationary is a fellow friend in the kingdom of chaos." Hartley perfunctorily introduced them, then glanced around. "Drinking nectar? It kills time, can't do any damage, and I know what you're going to say." He grinned. "It's a bore." "Well, it is. You should be onto something stronger. You gone space gaga?" "Not at all, Nielsen. Who would bother with what isn't safe. Everyone knows down to the last nerve tremor the consequences of really good stimulants. We've all seen it, smell and feel-visioned it through social indoctrination procedures to the point where no one would dare. All we can do is stick to the legally permissible alkaloid heightened caffeine derivatives. Suppose I told you there is something new, something perfect and safe. I'd say gaga again. Sheer lunacy. All right, just listen. He countered their experiences on the asteroid, and despite himself, Yeoman began to show real interest. Yeah, you can always throw rocks at cars that go by. That's practically free unless you get hit by a car. Not that I would ever recommend such a thing. Alright, just listen. He recounted their experience on the asteroid belt, and despite himself, Nielsen began to show real interest. You have a capsule? Yes, want to try a flex? That's all you need, I think. Oh no, Nielsen exclaimed. Not until I've run the test. Well, that's what I'm here for. You're a biochemist. You have all the equipment. Kramer looked disdainfully at the man. The type was common enough, probably knew next to nothing about his speciality, but, and this was what made it doubly revolting, he didn't have to know in order to be an expert. Good equipment could do all the work in most cases. Nielsen waved. Oh, I have to turn the page. Turn the page, turn the page. I didn't have to know in order to be an expert. Good equipment could do all the work in most cases. Nielsen waved. I mean, you can control F, and then you can just search the phrase that I'm on. Bum, 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 bum. Nielsen waved languidly towards his other guest, mumbling, "See you shortly," and led the pair through a series of golden rooms to his analyzer laboratory, where he took the capsule from Hartley and placed it into a cryogenic tester similar to one aboard the Solar Pioneer. After temperature adjustments were made, tiny filament hands began lifting out specimen flicks and shifting them to various test sections. Odd stuff, murmured Nielsen as he surveilled the preliminary sheet punched out by the reporting machine. It's a living organism, and it's silicon-based. That's a real weird one. Its biological action in the human body wouldn't be like any narcotic, completely new. Can't read the next stuff. Here's a translation. Heightened hormone changes, not one of which is detrimental. Metabolic cycle of bacteria somewhere between 3 and 4 hours. Okay. The spin period for asteroid. This stuff's likely to be available hundreds of places in the asteroid belt. Whether the spin periods in that range might have an endless supply because its native habitat reappears after the heating phase, even though something in the human body destroys it permanently. Bum, bum, ba, dum. Now summaries were being pumped out more rapidly, and Nielsen was scanning them with unwanted speed. Fleck dose too small for any endocrine upset. None for musculature either. Gastrointestinal, negative. Bone marrow, negative. 10 minutes after entering the body, the stuff dissolves completely into lower elements. Physiologically non-habit forming, partly. If this gives all the pleasure you claim, it's the answer to our wildest prayers. I will try a fleck. Give me that fleck! Bum, 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 bum. As soon as he inhaled the infinitesimal dosage, he began grinning at the pair in speechless wonder. Hartley joined him and offered to set up a bit for Kramer. "No," Kramer said. "I don't care what the analyzers say. You can't get anything for nothing. This is beyond price, Nielsen sighed contently. He moved to a wall mirror. Not even a little retinal contraction. The doses are so small, the silicone base couldn't hurt you even if you took one an hour for the rest of your life, and there can't be any hangover. No law on the books against it, and I don't think the public would tolerate a prohibition. The stuff is actually good for you, Hartley exulted. And we are the only ones on Earth who have it for at least the next few weeks. He jotted down some calculations. Figure 100,000 doses in the capsule and at least $50 a microscopic flake slice. $75 more probably. Anybody can lay his hands on cryogenic capsules. They're all over the place. We'd only need a few dozen runners and I can get them easily enough. Are we in business, Hartley? Let's give a free capsule to your friends first. Fair enough, they're going to become amongst our best customers. Kramer watched in horrified disgust as the others were summoned and willingly passed over into the fully conscious ecstasy. But why the horror? Why the disgust? He demanded of himself. Why condemn something that even the specimen analyzers showed to be wholly beneficial? He couldn't find the tangible reason, but that didn't matter. There had to be something wrong somewhere. Still not worth it? Hartley asked after a while. I'd just as soon not bother quite yet. Well, you do know what you're missing, shrugged the captain. My probationary rights don't give the privilege to insist on this. As I told you, complaining to authority wouldn't change anything, but now I'll give you the biggest reason why. Even in the highly unlikely case of them believing your story, they couldn't move against me because they know it wouldn't matter. First, I'd see to it that word got out about Germjoy. There are hundreds of craft on the Mars run that could detour into the asteroid belt and pick up a supply once they know what to look for. Look at all the freighters that do a little bootlegging on the side now. There'd be no way to seal off that supply. I can see that, Kramer agreed. I'm not interested in reforming anything either. I just don't want to be personally involved. Perfectly all right, Hartley said thoughtfully. Each man to his own taste. Then he moved away to discuss business arrangements with his host. How do I get out of here, Kramer wondered, and how do I get anyone to listen, to believe such a wild story from a probationary? Or would it be best to sit along with them and see what happens? Trying all the while to hide his anxiety, he struggled with a dozen problems that seemed to have no solution. It might not even deserve a solution if the stuff were as harmless as it had shown itself to be. For the present, he had to appear to be one of them. Just before going into dinner, he asked for a fleck, and there was a patter of applause from everyone with jovial cries of, "For he's a jolly good fellow," and now you're talking. There was no denying the renewed sense of youthful cleanliness it gave him, as if every nerve in his body had been gently washed down to the dawn of life freshness. The main course consisted of yeast snow nectar, laced with rare confectionery spices that broke evanescently on the palate, and then subtly vanished to make way for the next clearly distinct sensation. Behind his own mask of laughter, Kramer drowsily watched all the other chattering faces. They're just having a drug party, by the way. After a while, there only seemed to be a glittering of eyeballs and silver and perfectly spaced teeth sinking into nectar, and he got up with the assistance of Hartley and Nielsen to accompany them sleepily. Oh, so yawned sleepily. Away to another room. He saw himself floating from afar towards the asteroid, its rougher side glowing in the sun, the flatter one a sable blank. He moved slowly through a vicious atmosphere, one joint stickily shifting from another. An enormous flake of whiteness settled on his face, and he inhaled. To be this happy, this content, and again the movement around the surface as gradual as the turning of the asteroid itself. Over and over again, never an end to it, while another flake drifted inexorably towards his upturned face. And again, that final happiness. Oh, I forgot to turn the page. I'm so sorry. Hello, Saren. Howdy dowdy, Gamer Kev. How do I know? They're talking about scenes and faces melting into one another and like not even having food, but just like drinking things. Yes. It's clear. I like your casual outfit. Thank you so much. I like it too. But welcome, Gamer Kev. I am reading today. I'm doing an okay job, I suppose. Yes. Okay. Where are we? He swung imperceptibly across the surface of his new home as it streamed in an arcing line along the invisible orbit of the asteroid belt, and always at the right interval, another floating flake. When the voices came to him, they were hardly wanted and totally unneeded, but although he did not listen, he heard them and even identified their owners. He's hooked now, Hartley was saying. I guess so, Nielsen answered, but it's not psychological, just like weed. Who cares about that? Psychologically, he's going to want the stuff from now on. Any sensible person would. You know, we're actually doing him a favor, destroying his inhibitions to get something so harmless. Which doesn't concern me one way or another. Well, maybe it would have been neater just to get rid of him, but probationers have to report to HQ at the end of their punishment periods. If he doesn't go in today, there'll be an investigation, and believe me, Nelson, they trace down my every movement and get an electrical hold on me that I couldn't shake. The whole thing would come out. A lot of good spilling our beans would do the government. Someone else would just bring in the happy germs. Yes, but this next month's the time when we make our killing. Hey, I think he's starting to wake up. No prob. Nelson's answer mumbled itself away and found himself floating across the flat surface of the asteroid, waiting for the next huge flake to descend. It didn't sound different from vibration mode. But Sarah reading is soothing, so whatever. Okay. Hey, it works for me. I'm just background noise, man. But hi, Gioviosh. Welcome back to Gigachat. It's so good to see you. I'm having a good time. I'm just reading. Awesome. Okay. And then he was really awake. He discovered that he was leaning against the back of a heavily padded chair, alone in a guest bedroom. Approaching footsteps told him the pair was returning, and he hastily shut his eyes. This had to be carefully managed. Ought to be waking up about now, said Nielsen. Kramer started stretching, then rubbed his lids and blinked at the light. Give me a fleck, he pleaded, just a little bit. The two of them nodded to one another, and Hartley leaned forward. Takes a little while to get it out of the freezer, Will. I want it now, he said petulantly. Hartley gave his shoulder a camaraderie squeeze. One of the gang now, eh? Come along, and you'll get it. You have to report to HQ. I have 5 days probationary. He got up and followed them, a little unsteadily, to the cryogenic freezer in another room. 5 days are up, Hartley explained. You've been doing a lot of sleeping. Even were sleepy when you were even sleepy when you got up to eat. 5, okay, don't understand. I'll tell you after you get our sniff. Yes, that's what I want now. Yags! I just wish I could have been here from the start, then I could appreciate it fully. One tiny flick came out on a holder the size of a fingernail painting herring. It was frightening how quickly they developed techniques for handling the stuff. Take it fast, Nielsen shouted. That germ colony's worth $80 and it's breaking down fast. You won't get another. Kramer leaned forward to quickly breathe in. By the time he exhaled, it was already working its magic. He straightened up and smiled with hangdog gratitude. Oh, that's good. Had to get you used to it, Hartley said. Only reason why we kept you sleepy. You'll think of someday. Someday? I think you now. Nielsen gave him a friendly handshake, but his eyes were coolly observant. Okay, he nodded for Hartley's benefit. Hartley glanced at his watch. The stuff's all gone by now. They can't find a thing even if they do give you a checkup. But the silicon... Not a trace, Nielsen said. This thing even breaks up on the atomic level. Takes a little longer than the germ death, but inside an hour, no silicon. But the fission breakdown... Don't ask me, Nielsen shrugged. It doesn't work that way. Must have something to do with the beautiful energy charge you get from the germ joy. Feeling clear-headed? Hartley asked. Sure, I'll be right back for some more after I report. He went out, grinning inwardly. They were right about one thing. It wasn't psychologically habit-forming, and he did just not have the kind of psychological defect for it to be habit-forming any other way. When he reached Space Pioneer HQ, he handed his card in at the probationary desk. The major in charge looked him up and down in stony silence, then suddenly barked, Anything to say, mister? Yes, sir. I want to register a complaint with General Sisholm personally. What? His face turned beet red. Look, soldier, we're not strictly GI in this outfit out of love of red tape. This is a dangerous service. You have to follow the chain of command every time. He entered a black mark on the card. Tell your immediate superior. He's the one I'm complaining against, sir. Then go see the Inspector General. The time lag, sir. It would take too long to reach General Sisholm. The mayor violently punched another mark on the card. Wipe that grin off your face, mister. What's so funny? That's part of my complaint, sir. I've been drugged to joy. I really ought to call the general. You'd make a perfect punishment example. Wow. Just as long as I get to talk to the general, sir, he said, confidence in its success gone, even if the evil stuff kept them feeling so good. Wait in the outside room. He reached for a phone. Who's your immediate superior? Scout Captain Hartley, sir. He went out and sat down on the edge of the chair. No, it wasn't going to work. He could just see it wasn't. Then the major was striding out and shouting, Follow me! The general actually wants to break you in person. Break you? Gonna squash you. Kramer sighed and followed. I turned page. Turn fresh page. Yes. I'm up an escalator, then past 2 receptionists and 2 private secretaries. The major pointed at a small door. You go in your own, soldier. You go in on your own, soldier. Sorry. Okay. He turned the knob and stepped nervously into the room, which was bare except for a glass-topped desk, which General Sisholm was seated, and a few wrought iron chairs facing the desk. The general stared at him as if he weren't there, but would materialize under prolonged scrutiny. Sit down and tell me what this is all about, Sisholm said, raising one index finger from the desk. Kramer sucked in his breath. The story came pouring out faster and faster all the time, as if he were racing against the moment when Sisholm would bark for silence and bring him crashing down. But the general said nothing, studying first one cuticle, then the speaker's face, then back to the next cuticle. Suddenly, he slammed on an intercom and said, Get Dr. Jones and tell him to bring a portable blood test rig. Then you believe me, sir? Kramer was too stunned to remain safely silent. Of course I don't, mister. But There's too much smoke for no fire. Silicon trace may not show up now. Smile flashed up System's face, then disappeared. Those are the chances you take when you tell sensational stories. Kramer's heart sank once more. Yes, sir. They hated him because he was correct! The specialist arrived with his test machine rolling behind him like an obedient, lumbering mastiff. When he reached the center of the room, he turned a dial on his signet ring, and the machine stopped. This young warrant officer has given me an interesting account of his recent experiences, which he would have us to believe included being drugged into sleep and semi-sleep, said Chris Holm. I want you to test blood samples for silicon traces. In fact, the whole gamut of tests. Just like me, for real. To have the pin be at the bottom of the chat box, it makes me think that you did something here. But no, it's just hovering where the latest messages would be. Nope, that's just YouTube being YouTube. What can you do? They already know exactly. Dr. Jones' pointed chin sank towards his chest, then rose. Yes, General Chris Holm. He pulled up Kramer's left sleeve and applied a bloodsucker tube, which clicked off drops until it reached 50 and stopped. The doctor set the fractionating apparatus on automatic and approached his superior's chair to say, I hardly think a person could be sedated with a silicon compound, sir. Chris Holm gestured for Kramer to remain silent. All right, while we're waiting for your machine to complete its run, here's a purely hypothetical problem. Imagine a silicone-based bacteria. What? Dr. Jones explained. I said a silicon-based bacteria. It raises human metabolism when absorbed into the bloodstream in the form of a tiny frost flake. A flake whose very atomic structure breaks down the element scale without the explosive force of nuclear fission or any other kind of serious disruption. I'd say the whole thing's impossible, sir. But let's just suppose it is not. Then I'd have to proceed on the assumption that the life cycle of the hypothetical form permits it to reach a high threshold of energy storage, part of which energy is smoothly released while the rest achieves a new balance as the silicon transmutes into elements of lesser weight. Sounds like a reasonable explanation for something unreasonable, Doctor. He stiffly observed, your test should be ready now. Reads like Muv-Love. Dr. Jones looked satisfied as he pulled the tape from the machine. No silicon. He stopped, frowning. But there is indication of massive barbiturate doses. This man has been drugged. There shouldn't be any lasting damage. He's a healthy specimen, alright, but whatever did this wasn't worrying about his welfare, General. Thank you, Dr. Jones. You may go back now. He casually leaned back in his chair. This is top secret for the present. I will be consulting you later on this matter. Yes, sir. But as soon as Jonas and his equipment were gone, the general sprang into frantic action. You're under arrest, mister. Sir! Protective arrest, although it won't be announced that way. No time for explanations right now. Give me the precise reading in time for that asteroid. When he had the information, he activated a keyboard at one side of his desk, which fed the orrery computer several miles away. A few seconds after, he punched in the data. A reply came back with the exact present location of the asteroid. He immediately threw a switch, which lowered the lights and simultaneously splashed a map of the solar system on all of one blank wall. The map carried the position of Pioneer Logistic and showed a dozen labeled points scattered throughout the system's inner and median reaches. A few were moving away very slowly while others appeared to be at rest. After a minute's careful scrutiny, the general leaped to his feet, muttering, Good! Good! Hazelton can get in there in 4 hours. Starting his sender, he brought on message center and commanded, Get me Admiral Hazelton on the Star Seeker. Top priority. Instant action. Field of the third line. Instant action. Blah, blah, blah. This is a tongue twister. Get me Admiral Hazelton on the Starseeker. Top priority. Instant action field officer line. Whew. Kramer, accustomed to slower transmission channels, was startled by the speed with which Hazelton's voice came into the room. Standing by, General. Admiral, have your daily code book handy? Right here. Put on today's complete garble in It says garble. In precisely 10 seconds. Did you mean garb? Look at this. Garble. You see it? Oh, it's not letting me drag more. Yeah, it says garble. I do. 1 second. Garble smacks. He went to the movie theater to go get smacks. Oh man, this is so fun. Question: why dare some words separated? Impossible. Very weird. If you look at the source, like the pages, they're in tabloid/zine format. And that is done so that you can read the next line. I know a lot of people didn't grow up reading magazines or like zines or anything. But yeah, this is what tabloid print looks like. So that you can go to the next panel. Or so you know that it's continuing. It's not so unless you're a millennial and you were like really like severely broke and just had like not a lot of media to consume and you didn't have video games until you got older, you read your mom's magazines. If you could read, you read your mom's magazines, you read like old books from the library. And yeah, tabloids and magazines are printed like this, or they were. I don't know what they're printed like now. I don't really think they're printed at all. But yeah, it's just an older format of cheaper mass media consumption. Stuff that's meant to be thrown away. What I have in my hands right now is from 1964, and it should not have lasted that long. I mean, it's in pretty good condition. Even though I've read it more than a few times, and you know, obviously like the paper is literally disintegrating. So yeah, just an older format of how cheaper media was printed back in the day. He knows what he said. I'm not even that old, but I did too, yeah. Really, the delineation is, did your family have money for a home console or a computer that could play games when you were really young? Maybe you had like, I had a Game Boy and that was it. And actually it kind of made me want to read because I was like, man, I'm playing Pokemon, but I can't read what I'm doing. I'm so tired of being illiterate. So yeah, it just depends. So weird that whoever transcribed it didn't reconnect the words. I transcribed it with my own hands. If you've read the Discord or community post, you would learn that I did this all. I scanned this all with my own two hands. I lovingly made this file format for you guys. When I was little, around 2008, we had a super old computer just used for keeping track of important stuff and printing. I was thinking about connecting the words, but then I ran out of time because I'm just one person. It's in the community post. You know what? I knew you were going to say something like that. I just knew. I knew you were going to say something like that. I don't even know why I bothered to respond. Anyways, back to the story. Kramer accustomed to slower transmission channels. Precisely 10 seconds. He set his own coder and waited. Okay, Hazelton. Are you receiving me clearly? Perfectly, Crystal. Alright. Now nobody else can follow what I'm going to tell you. Immediately shift course for 32583.21. An asteroid quadrant, subsection 38. Protesting squawk came hurtling across space. First give your people my orders, then I'm going to tell you why. Kramer gaped. Kramer gaped. There's a server? Possibly, perhaps. Yeah, you can join it. You can join my server? You're fine. You seem to be an okay poster. I will post link. 1 second. There you go. Wait. How long? Wait, I have to make sure this is a temporary link. I don't want people clicking a permalink. I can't. I'm so mentally insane. Not a lot of people can know what I'm like. They can't see me when the lights are off. 1 second. Is this a one-time use? 7 days. Okay, 7 days! 7 days. You have 7 days, Batman. Welcome to our Kramergate server. Oh, okay. Eric posted a link. Thank you so much, Eric. Dropped a 12-hour link already. Yay! 12 hours is better. It's shorter. It's a great way to preserve media in its OG form, yeah. Or I grew up with sell books that they weren't renting out. Yeah. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Oh, man. Okay. Yes, the Kramer Gate. Where was I? Kramer gaped. As he heard his superior start to repeat his story, the general must have believed it. 10 minutes later, Hazelton broke in with a final, "Oh my god," for a while. Only his heavy breathing could be heard. Then said, "Chrysholm, if there's anything to this, it's the worst social catastrophe of the century. I know it. Contact me as soon as you have a sample analyzed. You should be able to manage in 6 hours or so. This line will be open at all times from now on. Off." Chrysholm came back to the desk and looked steadily at Kramer. "You sure have me going far out on a prestige limb." "I never expected anyone to believe me, sir," he replied, all gratitude. But yeah, if you ever see anything that isn't an instrumental or isn't like a song instrumental or isn't like visual art, I did it. If it's a graphic that is not made by like drawing or illustration, that's me. I do 98% of the channel with my own 2 hands, with my own voice, with like everything. Like I cobble things. Like sometimes I take them. Like obviously I didn't make this book, I scanned it. But I grabbed this chair graphic. I grabbed this video. I downloaded it. I'm streaming from my cube. Like, this is all me, baby. With my own everything. So if you see something and it's not perfect, it's because someone, being me, did it all and is doing it all themselves. So yes. I still don't think we can't take any chances. I know something that has to be going on. You see, Captain Hartley resigned from the service yesterday. Ah, Snake! Snake! But he's still under your command for 3 months, isn't he? No, he's a free agent. He entered a categorical resign. That means he's giving up all benefits occurring to a man of 25 years standing, but his resignation is immediately effective. Snake! Snake! All handmade, yes. Bum, 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 bum. My fingies. Dun dun dun. Who dis? Dun, 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 dun. I gotta assign it. Oh. I don't know if I can assign stuff. I don't know how Discord works. Initially, my Discord server was actually a, oh, here it is. Let's see. Huh. Okay. What's this guy's name? It's raining. Bum 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 bum. Okay. Nothing needs to be perfect. To even try and make something and put an effort yourself is admirable. Thank you. Forgive the offense, Noble Siren. No, it's okay. It's alright. But yeah, this guy's a snake. You could still arrange for his arrest through the civil channels. No, not civil court! I doubt whether any continental president would care for that idea. I know I don't. Your former captain's a very shrewd man. He knew he'd see how helpless we are. I only hope that you're lying through your teeth. If I don't return soon, General Christome will suspect something. Again, it doesn't matter very much. He sat down and rubbed his chin. If we let you go back, do you think he'd let you see how they're organizing their operation? True, it would be more convenient for him if, for a few more days, we wouldn't be investigating him. That's why he took the chance of letting you report back here and avoided the probationary hunt. To his way of thinking, chances are that you'll want further dosages and keep quiet. Why should we expose you further to that stuff when the possible sacrifice involved won't give us any more information? Then you're just going to surrender the point? Let him realize you know and won't do anything about it? Not exactly. The best we can do is keep him uncertain about you. Officially, you've been arrested for insubordinate behavior by Martinet. General has decided to make a horrible example of you. Someone looking like you is going to be seen ensuring a punishment craft heading for a monoctomy run to check the automatic satellites around Uranus. That's the stupid best we could do. We're over a barrel. His sharp eyes suddenly dug into Kramer's. You'll be in isolation quarters for the next few hours. I only hope that you'll deserve to stay there. That your story is all malicious nonsense. Kramer was escorted to a small cell where there were no audio visuals, only old-fashioned printed books. No! My audio visuals! He picked up a few of them, stared at a title pages without knowing what he was reading, then began to pace his cell. No, not normal books! What if they didn't find a germ sample after all? Nobody had ever spotted this stuff before. No, they knew what to look for now and made a difference. But it didn't in this case. And what made them feel so helpless? What gave Hartley that much of an advantage over a general of the space deeps? Nothing added up, and it seemed he had been shuffling the crazy pieces for a week when they came to take him back to Christome's office. The clock, though, told him only 8 hours had passed. But yeah. No, that's me. with your bare hands. By the way, it's pronounced sisum. You're sisum. Okay. So, another man was in Chris Holmes' office now and recognized him as soon as he came in. Dun, 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 dun. What did I say? Made difference, but it didn't in this case. And what made them feel so helpless? What gave Hartley that much of an advantage over General of the Space Deeps? Nothing added up, and it seemed blah blah blah, blah had passed. Another man was in Chris Holmes' office now and recognized him as soon as he came in. Shelby Johnson, President of North America. The newcomer nodded grimly as they introduced to each other. President Johnson is here incognito. The term President Johnson, like the phrase, is just so funny to me. Chris Holmes explained, "You're not to mention this anywhere. A real mess." Johnson claimed, "But at least there was someone decent enough to give us forewarning. This stuff's supposed to be so effective. No hangover. No known damage to the system. Why didn't you go along with Hartley's reasoning?" Chiz, where are you getting sizz? Sizz. Sniz and fondue. Yolks. Cheese, yum. I really want yucca balls so badly. They're such a pain to make, though. There has to be some bad long-range effect. Nothing comes that cheap. I only hope you're right. Johnson's gray eyes seem to be focused far off. Otherwise, the social damage will be terrible. Everything you told me has been confirmed, said Chris Holm. Scouts had no trouble finding a batch, and the test confirmed that it's seemingly harmless, breaks down completely. Then why don't you arrest Hartley? That would just spread knowledge of this even faster. He's probably seen to it. That will happen, and can hold it over our heads. Counter the thing with the propaganda offensive, highlighting the evils. What evils, young man? The president broke him. Who's going to be scared off from something that sounds so harmless? Two things are working against us. The supply is easily replenishable, and testing equipment's much too common for us to put over any white lies. Still hard for you to understand, isn't it? Chris Holmes sighed. Kramer, a terribly big percentage of the population has been passive and bored, just looking for some easy diversion. Bum, bum, bum. Okay. We're gonna go... We will go here. They will go back. Okay. Kramer. With it, matters can get out of hand, and I don't care how automated and wealthy a society is. Can't get by if we develop that big of a burden of non-thinking freeloaders. Oh, yes, it can. At least now it can. General Chisholm isn't wholeheartedly with the plan I've adopted, but I haven't a better thing to suggest, Mr. President, the general conceded. Who does? Well, the plan for the next few weeks is this. To keep very close surveillance of Hartley's activities without openly conceding we know what he's up to. We have to hope that some defect will show up in a user, even though the first report says no one knows how it happened. Kramer protested. You're going to tell him to get away with it. You're going to let him get away with it for the present, President Johnson nodded. We're not interested in punishing a particular man. We have to give him all the joy rope he needs and hope that he, as the longest run user, suffers the consequences. I could keep tracking it myself if you need a guinea pig. Yuka. It's a fried cheese orb. Yeah, yucca. Yucca balls are really good. I don't... Yeah, you guys don't have yucca really on the West Coast. Not really. It's more of a Caribbean thing. So it stands to reason that you guys don't have it. I mean, I'm sure you can buy it at the grocery store. Rasher section of the public will supply enough guinea pigs, said the general. You'll stay here at HQ looking over all the reports that come in, Mr. Kramer. Maybe your experience will help somewhere along the line. If, after a few weeks, nothing shows up, we will crack down on Hartley anyways. Not that it will do much good, said the president, but we, too, need our moments of purely personal satisfaction. The following day, Kramer was given a robot-run suite high in HQ Tower. Fancy. Cassava? Yeah, it's also called cassava. His human contacts were restricted to a few total security clears, who occasionally brought him messages too delicate for transmission on the building's international net. Inured to the isolation training of the space knot, he was not disturbed by the lack of company. Ah, based. I want to be a neat too. You're telling me you need to be a social isolate to be an astronaut? Sign me up. I have that. No, I'm just kidding. I don't actually have that. But within a few days, a message arrived that did disturb him. Sorry. The Starseeker, returning with its precious capsules of asteroid bacteria, was so weak from Earth base, and already one scout who had somehow sampled Germjoy was under foreseeable restraint for trying to get additional doses. Medical analysis showed no psychological addition, but it did indicate some purely psychological craving triggered by merely one dose. Oh, physiological addiction and then psychological craving. I see. Scout was not moved by the warnings of the Frostflake. Frostflake! Possible danger, since there was no binding proof of it. Chris Holm scribbled across the bottom of the document. This is likely to become the classic form of our difficulty. The refusal to see horror unless it can be shown. And here again, it's happening to a space service man. I'm going to be more like Sarah. I'm going to start spelling Morb with a J. Jorb. Sarah just loves Morgan and Gordon. Fritters. Chris Holm had scribbled across the bottom of the document. Yeah. Kramer shuddered at that. The service contained the cream of Earth's manpower. Yeah, it does. If Germjoy could bring out their physiological weaknesses, how much worse the effect was bound to be amongst the listless, bored masses. As the day went by... Oh my gosh, I forgot to turn the page. Turn page. Turn page. Poor fresh page. As the days went by, there were occasional reports on Hartley's activities. With Nielsen's help, his agents had smoothly eased into many sectors of the scientific underground, and huge quantities of money were moving up through distribution hierarchy. There were even spy reels for him to run off on his projector, reels which showed the ex-captain looking fantastically youthful and self-satisfied. Once in a while, the bitterly ironic thought came to Kramer that maybe Hartley was inadvertently on the right side. Just suppose that Germjoy was actually good for humanity. More than ever, he longed for some evil effect to become manifest, even if he meant he himself should be stricken by it. I turned page. Eventually, he was summoned to Chris Holmes' office, where several scientists were gathered. The feed lines for a medical computer had been set up there, and he was put through another rigorous checkup. At the end of a half hour, Dr. Jones threw up his hands and said, "You're in perfect health, still no after effects. I don't think there'll ever be any." "How could there be?" Grissom considered Kramer almost resentfully. "You're too damned healthy for your own good. Dr. Phillips here has equally bad news. He's a biopsychiatrist." Phyllis, a skinny, dark-haired man, tried to smile through his look of bewilderment. "We've absolutely run through the testing gamut on the stuff Starseeker brought back. Ultra-high microscopy shows no RNA or DNA in our frozen samples, and in fact nothing to carry the genetic pattern. Yet we know it's alive. We've no way of coping with something so radically different, something that breaks all the way down the atomic scale so peacefully. It can only be controlled by some subatomic patterns unknown to us." "There's no way to probe it subatomically?" asked Kramer. "Not at this final level. What methods we have show nothing exceptional there after the silicon breaks down." He frowned in a dreamy sort of way. "A lot of tiniest subatomic bits are still a total mystery, too small for our analytic tools to grapple with. If this stuff would reappear in some analyzable form, now we could learn an awful lot about those awful interactions. Unknown. Not a chance of that, though." "Oh, wait another week," said Christholm. "Then if nothing's happened, we'll put Hartley and his crew in and hope the public won't end up in his corner. There are probably several thousand regular users already. We've already had a few scientists saying the stuff's all right. That we should encourage its use." "Idiocy," observed Phyllis sadly, "is no respecter of high IQs." Too true. That's a great line, actually. What does a biopsychiatrist do, pray tell? Sounds scammy. The week went by more and more slowly in Kramer's tower suite, and all the reports only confirmed the general's forebodings about the spread of Germjoy's appeal. Someone else had brought in a batch and was distributing it through a new, completely independent setup. And everywhere there were vague rumors of a beneficial substance that they, the eternally conspiratorial they, of the undefinable higher authority, were keeping from popular use. Then, on the seventh day, Kramer had the rash. It encircled only the wrist of his left hand, but the red splotching itched so violently that he immediately called in the medical team. By the time the doctors arrived, it was already subsiding. A sample from the splotched area, though, showed a significant trace of silicon, but none of the bacteria. Somehow the element reformed, Phillips exclaimed. "We're approaching the breakthrough." Kramer watched the splotches shrink into themselves, fearfully wondering what the next phase would be, but an hour later, this turned out to be bitterly anticlimactic for the assembled group. A urinalysis showed that his body had thrown off an amount of silicon roughly equivalent to the amount he must have taken in through the flakes. "Looks like you've passed through your crisis," Jones said. "You're in perfect shape again." The scientists all looked crushed, but their mood changed to annoyance when they saw Kramer's enthusiastic grin. "Don't you see?" he said. "If this happened to me, it should be happening to Hartley too. He got his first sniff only a little while after I did, so the incubation period's the same for him. Unless the large amount he's taken in since then actually confers immunity," Phyllis muttered. Kramer's face fell, but he persisted. "We have to find out one way or another, don't we?" "No doubt about that." Phyllis called Chris Holmes' office and explained what had happened. "Then the operation's on," the general told him, happy to be acting at last. "Hartley's at Nielsen's place, and we have to get him. Bring along all the test equipment you'll need." When they broke into the vast penthouse apartment, they found nobody around. As they went through one empty chamber after another, they became increasingly nervous. "The building's been thoroughly staked out," Chris Holmes fumed. "We know he hasn't left his floor." Then, in the last chamber, they found him. He was lying on a silken couch, breathing heavily, and then they came closer and they saw all the visible parts of his body were covered with angry splotches. Get the cameras going, barked the general. No, do something for me, Hartley gasped, staring in horror at his hands, as if waiting for something to appear there. All ran away, all of them. As they watched, the splotches on the back of each hand exploded into running sores, while an assistant took a sample from one of the evil flowering things. Jonas held an anesthetic bottle to the sinking man's nostrils, but it had no effect, and he only groaned the louder, demanding sucrese. More sores opened up on the neck, while most of the team frenziedly attended to the analyzer. One of them came up to the foot of the couch where Kramer was standing with Chisholm and Jonas and whispered to them, "Now it's a silicon virus, and it's inducing massive flash cancers." Phyllis was too absorbed in some abstruse calculation to look towards the couch anymore. "What a breakthrough," he suddenly exclaimed. "We'll be able to extrapolate the interactions now." "Any danger of catching anything from him?" Chisholm asked, looking at the pupulating mass. Jonas glanced at a report tape that has been handed to him. "No, you don't pick up carcinomas that way. And we know from Kramer's experience today that the victim only erupts into this when a certain critical intake has been exceeded." There was one final gasp and Hartley lay dead. His mouth, the only remaining recognizable feature. Chisholm steeled himself to look at the human wreckage with the objectivity of the nearby camera. Horrible. But it would have been worse if it hadn't happened, if we didn't have this proof. A different kind of horror, social and slow, but even worse. This way, only a few die, not the race. Kramer heard the general pick up a phone and asked for President Johnson, and all about him there was the clamor of excited researchers getting on with their jobs, but he could not turn away from the ugly spectacle of this death quite yet, nor could he feel any exultation before it, even though he knew this outcome was the most desirable of all available possibilities. When you had sailed across the farther depths with one comrade, you had to remember him for whatever he had been, best in him, not worst. Man, sad story about a guy getting mega cancer from asteroid cocaine. Wow. What say ye, Gigachat? The microplastics got him. Yeah. Oh man, it's really coming down outside. Did you guys enjoy? I had fun. Space plague in a tube, yeah. That's how I want to go out. Flash cancers? The carcinomas? The schmarcinomas? Yeah. I'm glad you liked it. It was something different. I've been wanting to do something like this for a while, but I was just so busy last year with school. And I barely got it together for today. But I tried my best. It's silicon bacteria. It kind of sounds like the thing you get from asbestos. Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? Cocaine meteor, yeah. The morbinomas. The schmorbinomas. Also a great name for a band. Cocaine meteor. Oh wait, let me see if I can. Let's see if I can I wonder if I can fix. Is it not working? It's not working. It's fine. It's okay. Okay, I'm gonna come back. What? Or a movie. Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's stream. I don't know when I'll be streaming again, actually. Huh. Next week is my busy week. What am I doing next week? Friday is really my only day off. And I'm not mentally well enough to stream tomorrow. I think Let me check my schedule again, because I think I'm gonna have to wait until Monday to stream again. Hopefully all my tech stuff. I think I'll have the new mixer by then too. So I might do a test stream just to play with the mixer. I'm upgrading because Go XLR is on its last leg. And it's given me many problems in the past. I've already had to send this thing in twice already. In the less than 2 years that I had it. Because software support stopped for it. Okay. No, we're done. Kind of. We're wrapping it up. I mean, I've been streaming for 4 hours. Okay. So... yeah. Friday. I'll probably stream Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday will be good. Next Tuesday will be good. I think. I'm still getting used to work. Work is kind of a lot. Sorry I'm only streaming once a week. I'm just having a bit of a hard time. It's also summer. I do not have a fun time during summer. Summer is not my season. I'm suffering from a shortage of serenomas. Yeah. Sorry. Story hours with Sarah is a nice concept. Thanks. I don't know. Do you guys want to do something like this again? Now that I've done the process, it'll be a lot easier. It still is a lot of work to scan everything in. But, I mean, I can do it, technically. Reading stream was fun, though. Thanks! Yeah, I mean, I don't have to necessarily read old zines. I can read other stuff. Yeah. I'm not against it. Yeah, we'll see. Now that I know that I can do it technically. I think I read something on the order of 50 pages. Very chill for a Sunday stream. Yeah, I like Sunday streams. But I think I'll stream next Tuesday. Like, not this upcoming Tuesday, but the one after. So, it'll be Tuesday the 30th. Or maybe Monday the 29th. Monday the 29th honestly sounds better. Because tomorrow I have off, but I have a bunch of stuff I have to do. Including making sure that I actually physically get my new mixer. Because I have to sign for it for some reason. Well, I know the reason is because it's expensive, so... just do your best, Sarah. Man, I'm trying. Heat is so taxing, man. Like... but apparently my job gets busy during the winter, so I don't know. But I think by then I'll be used to it. Rest up, take care of yourself, don't work yourself too hard. Ya? I'm taking it easy. I'm just being a big dumb baby about it. I didn't work out today. I was supposed to work out today, but I was also supposed to wash my hair yesterday, but I was busy scanning stuff, so I didn't. But yeah, I had fun. I kind of wish I could stay longer. I guess I can. I haven't played Magic in a really long time. I don't have the configuration for it though. What do you guys want to hear about? You know, I'm doing a bunch of stuff. I haven't been singing as much this week, but that's because I've been a bit busier. I probably sang like 2 to 3 hours on my own time. I'll probably start up again soon. I might actually do some... I might do some later. I don't know. Maybe I won't. I'm just kind of waiting for my new mixer to play around with that. Because I can't... I can't get recording done and then record with entirely different frequency range. That wouldn't work. It would sound completely different. Stinky Saren. I showered. What's so stinky about me? Drowning Sailor stream? Aquatic horror games. Soma D's. Yeah. Only Subnautica wasn't smelly. You got moss hair. Too true. Bum 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 bum. XCOM, Terror from the Deep. Terror of the Sheep. Did you know that sheep and goats can actually crossbreed, but it's incredibly rare? That it actually works and they actually end up living for longer than a few weeks? It's called a geep in English. It's crazy. Oh. Give it time. I'm sure Subnautica 2 will be good in a few years. Yeah, just a few years. I'm gonna go pass out. Thanks for streamo, Boss Mang. Yeah, take care, Alaska. Thank you so much for hanging out. Sheep Detective was a charming movie. I have never seen it. Trying to think. Is there anything I should tell you guys? Life finds a way, yeah. So the plan with the channel is I do covers. And yeah, I just constantly do some form of singing project. That's kind of what I've been, well, not what I've been doing, but what I've been ramping up to do. So we'll get that full swing production started soon. I have instrumentals to use. Or I should say I've acquired some. Good night. Good night. Bum 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 bum. So yeah. Alright. Is there anything else you guys wanted to say? Because if not, I will close this out. Thank you for hanging out with me and having a fun, good time and dealing with my stupid technical issues, which I've fully figured out by now, at least for the most part. Bum, 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 bum. I will buy the channel for 3 shillings as it was promised to me 4,000 years ago. I will perform dance. Wow. I hope you do this again sometime. I will. I will definitely. Probably. I'll give it at least a few months. I don't want to front load you guys with too much of the same thing. It was a chill stream, Sarah. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was different. Thank you for stream. Thank you. Yeah. I have more zines I can scan. I have a lot of reading material, not just sci-fi pulp stuff, but just other things in general, zines. We could do excerpts from novels, maybe. Those are a little bit boring, though, because they're just kind of like one thing. Although, there was some other stuff I wanted to do. Like a really old turn of the century story. But I just didn't have the time to put it together. Thank you for stream. Good night, all. Bum, 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 bum. What's the other story? Which one? Oh, the last one? It's just an excerpt from John Carter, Skeleton Men of Jupiter. You can read it if you want. I put it at the end because I wasn't sure if I was going to get to it or not. I wanted to leave the option open. But yeah, enjoy the free stories if you like. More readings, please. Okay. Alright, Gigachat. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me. It was super fun. I'll see you not next I'll see you Monday the 29th. Yeah. John Carter of Mars on Jupiter? Yeah. See you next time. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, guys. Take care. Have a safe one.